we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on.
We are underway here in Mexico for round 3 of Premier X, and it looks like a decent start for Hamo, who's already got the leap pretty clearly off of Value there. Now Vexit's in charge as he looks to try and take a slipstream from the AlphaTauri first. Christian Sendel battling for position as well. Zola disconnected from the session. That could cause issues, and the two Red Bulls come together there as Peso's looking to get interested as well, but it's Hamo clearly leading out at the front. What a start to the race for the AlphaTauri. Christian Sendel trying to make progress at the expense of his championship rival Vexit. Peso backing out of that particular battle because it could get hairy soon. But Vexit holds on to that position for now. Jan Fehler thinking about a move, but actually he's having to defend from Jeffrey Ritchie, who's trying to make up from a relatively poor qualifying. Both of these guys will be clean to make progress up through the field. Inside for the double right-hander for the Alfa Romeo, but I don't think he'll be able to out-drag, and he'll struggle to go around the outside of turn 7 here. So that's going to be Jan Fehler holding on to that one. Zola back in the session. They're still side by side. Jeffrey Ritchie. Wow, take a bow for that one, my son. That is Yanni Tripkov getting forced off the road by Jan Fehler as well, as their battle will continue down into turn 12 here. Yanni Tripkov going up the inside. There's going to be contact. They're still pushing wide. They're 2 by 2 through there and into the hairpin. It's so hard to go side by side through this particular part. Oh. And Jan Fehler's done it, and that's Yanni Tripkov round. And it's not just him, it's Connor Eddy as well. They've made contact, and 2 of them spinning out on the opening lap.
They try to go side by side through not only turn 13 but turn 14 as well. It was always going to end in absolute tears. Yanni Tripkov, Zola, both the spinning. Connor Eddy, Marinchello, KX Ricardo and Ollie P as well. They've all had to come into the pits.
Now here comes Value though, looking to try and get past Hamo. A bit of a lag moment between the 2 of them there, but they're sending it up the inside. Goes to Finn, but he's not alongside enough, and that will be Hamo holding on, defending well there. Calm defense from the AlphaTauri. No contact between the 2 of them, and Hamo stays ahead for the time being in that Alfa Romeo. But here comes Value. He's got the DRS wide open again, He's going to send it up the inside of turn 1 here. There's only so much that Hamo can do to try and fight this one back, but he is going to fight it back. He'll take the inside for turn 2 as well, but he can't shut the door. And as a result, that is going to be Value up into the lead of the race for the time being. He got pushed wide, did Hamo, in that battle. And now Vexit's going to look to try and take advantage. There's still no DRS. It's a double detection point there. And Hamo, without that DRS, cannot fight against either Red Bull. Really well done from the senior team there to get both of their drivers up into first and second. Or had a wing change or something, but there's Jan Fehler trying to battle with Value and taking the position away. That is the de facto race lead he's got with a 1-lap undercut. That just shows you the amount of power that undercut has here in Mexico. To worry about. Jan Fehler will take what is de facto the race lead, even though there are still 3 drivers ahead of him on circuit at the moment. There's Vexit coming out alongside his teammate, and Jan Fehler. He's going to have to slot in there in third. He hasn't lost too much time to those guys, and here goes Value up the inside of Jan Fehler. He was behind him for a lap. He doesn't want to be behind him any longer. And there's that experience that you mentioned. Jan Fehler not fighting that one aggressively, allowing Value through, knowing he can slipstream him back, DRS him back, and try and take the position away in a couple of laps' time. But he's under pressure from Vexit as well, who's looking to go around the outside of turn 4, and he looks to have judged it beautifully there. What a move once again from Vexit.
But Vexit might be having a slight smile on his face because he might be able to get the double overtake as they start lap of 14 of the race.
This is like a safety car restart right here. They're both going to get past Sandro into turn 1. You can imagine that Sandro getting well out of the way. I think he's getting out of the throttle even. And there's Jan Fehler with a triple slipstream trying to get past them as well. Will he get too interested? He might try and challenge Vexit. Anymore. Jan Fehler and Jeffrey Ritchie, they're going side by side over third place. Jeffrey wants that podium once again, and he wants to get himself at least provisionally there right now. And he gets past Jan Fehler. They had a great battle on the opening lap. They have a great battle here once again in the first sector. Jan Fehler will have DRS. He'll try and get him back, but of course Jeffrey has DRS of his own, so he can hold on. Now, further behind, that's Peso and Hamo going for the battle, as Christian Sendel further back gets past Sandro. That is Peso getting around the outside of Hamo. Hamo can fight back on the inside of turn 6, but that is going to be Peso making the move stick, and into 6th he goes.
That is an incident. Is it a safety car?
It is
indeed. Oh no, that is terrible for the 2 Red Bulls. Now the question is, do they pit for hard tires? I think everyone has to pit, and this is going to hurt Vexit so much.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a nightmare. Riptide might find himself in a positive situation, though. Ollie speeding under safety car, that's never going to help his race after such a promising qualifying. He's picked up 2 time penalties, and now that extra drive-through penalty as well. Riptide into the pits. Jan Fehler into the pits. Jeffrey Ritchie, they're making the decision to go into the pit lane. Labrax, Sandro, all of them into the pit lane. But Value, Vexit, Peso, Hamo, they all stay out. Christian Sendel stays out as well. Vexit has always been there with him. There has not been a point when the 2 Red Bulls haven't been together on track, barring the lap difference between their pit stops. Value holds them for a long time. And now, guns it on the straight. Peso, Hamo, they're going to be interested as well. Christian Sendel looks to have got a really nice restart all over the rear end of the Alpha Tauri. It's slight gap back to Cameron Cooper, who's going to be under pressure from Riptide on those fresh, soft tyres in the Scarlet Red Ferrari. But out in the lead, it's still Value leading from Vexit. Now, Hamo and Peso. Hammer and Tongs between the 2 of them, more like. There's a car off. No, never mind. That's Cameron Cooper, who scoots back on track. Riptide, he's had an issue. He's run wide on the exit of turn 3. And as a result, he's falling well down. He was in such a good position after the safety car, but he loses out there. Now, Hammer and Peso still fighting in towards turn 4. This is Christmas come early for the Red Bulls, as they can drive away from this pair of white cars battling with one another. But it is Peso who holds onto the position just about in the end, shutting the door, as he loses out to the Alfa Romeo as well. And now KX Ricardo is there. He's on soft tyres as well. It's just getting worse and worse for Labrax right now. This has been a disaster of a lap for him. But actually, he fights back and tries to continue the battle with Lars Algera, but Lars holds on to it. Now, KX Ricardo, can he send it up the inside of turn 6? That's always going to be dangerous. But thankfully, Labrax gives him the room. Very respectful driving indeed from the Renault, who could have easily caused a collision there. And now that's Zola getting past Labrax. This is a disaster for him. Lars Algera picked up a 3-second time penalty in the chaos. Will be closer to Peso this time around. He should be able to think about making the move in towards turn 1. He will have the inside there. We see the Williams on the left-hand side. And Jan gets past him, but not soon enough for all you guys in chat for Labrax. But, oh, contact maybe there. And that pushes Labrax wide. That's pretty much a bump pass from Christian Sendel, who take that position away. Here comes the drag effect being reduced by that DRS. And there it is, around the outside. He will go. Hardly enough space for Christian Sendel to battle back. He tries to do so, but the move is done, and Value is up into third, and he'll open the DRS once again for his second helping. He's on board with Jeffrey Ritchie. It's 1.1. He's getting closer and closer to Jan Fehler on this final lap of the race here in Mexico. Oh, he's just within it. Where's the DRS detection line? I think we just passed it. And he's going to have DRS on Jan Fehler, but he's not going to be close enough, I don't think. Into the final sector, he'll have to hope that Jan's tyres are completely dead at that stage. But I think Jan is canny enough to hold on to this race lead at the very end here. You can see the fireworks going off, the paint flying up into the air as Jeffrey Ritchie desperately tries to challenge, but I don't think he has enough. It's come too little and too late for the Dutchman as Jan Fehler takes his second win of the season for McLaren. Jeffrey Ritchie with a great drive to second, his third podium of the season. Value getting across the line in third, but Peso inherits the podium, his first of the season, ahead of Value and Christian Sendel down in fifth. Labrax comes home in sixth on 20-lap-old hard tyres. Hamo, after such a strong start to the race, finishes down in seventh. Lars Algera with a solid eighth place for him. Riptide will be happy with ninth. Same for KX Ricardo in 10th. Cameron Cooper improves on 2 12th places with an 11th here today. Maverick with no practice, managing 12th on his first reserve race of the season. Zola Vexit, who crashes across the line. He'll be very disappointed with how this race has gone. Jarne Tripkov coming home in 16th. He won't be happy either.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Formula X Racing as we're jumping on in for round 4 of the Premier X Championship. We've made our way over from South America to the Middle East, and we will be hitting the Bahrain circuit. Next week, we have Bahrain short as well. So a double header, Jacob, as one might put it, of Bahrain races. And I, for one, am excited to see how things are going to go. We're starting off with the normal circuit, the one that more of the drivers will be familiar with.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the bread and butter circuits for a lot of drivers. I think just in the calendar in general, but obviously a lot more drivers know it better than they know Bahrain short, which a lot of them will have never raced on before whatsoever before next week. So that's going to be exciting. And yeah, to have a double header at any track, I think Bahrain is probably my favorite one to have it at. I think it's my favorite track in the game in F1. I really like Bahrain. I think it always delivers great racing, and it's great fun to drive around as well, in my opinion.
I think in terms of the racing aspect, I think you're bang on. It's one of the best circuits on the calendar in terms of racing. You've got, 4 straights, 3 of which are DRS straights. So it makes for great overtaking opportunities. We get to see good slipstream battles, some good old DRS trains as well. And the undercut can be so powerful here as well.
Yeah, tire wear does become a significant factor. And when it does, it really affects you, particularly with those rears going off very rear limited circuit, which I think is always good fun as well. And if a safety car comes out at the wrong time, we might be getting into puncture territory again, as we almost did last weekend in Mexico.
And speaking of last weekend in Mexico, it was Jan Fehler who was able to secure his second win of the season, 2 back-to-back wins. It wasn't easy, though. We saw in the highlights how close a certain Ace Ritchie came to pipping him. And there you can see less than a second between Jan Fehler and Ace, and then it was Peso who picked up the final spot in the podium.
Yeah, no, it was not necessarily something we were expecting to see Ace being the primary challenger to Jan Fehler. And at the start of the race, we thought maybe Jan Fehler's going to have an off weekend here, started 6th on the grid, but the strategy call under the safety car to go for mediums to the end of the race was absolutely the perfect call. Going on to hards was the second best call. Staying out on the tires they're already on, like both of the Red Bulls did, was not the call. Christian Sendel also guilty of that one. And as a result, that's why you see Value and Christian Sendel falling behind, even Peso actually as well, who made the same decision, but did a better job with it in the end, the Czech driver. So kudos to him as well for his first podium of the season. But Ace was really up there, but not quite in time. One more lap and he would have had it.
One more lap. I actually just want to flip that a bit because I know we interviewed Jan Fehler after the race and he said, the hards just felt terrible at the circuit. I stand by. I think the hards were the right choice to take under the safety car. I mean, we're talking about less than a second between Jan Fehler and Ace Ritchie, and usually we wouldn't expect Ace Ritchie to be finishing within a second of Jan Fehler. So I think the strategy saw him finishing a bit closer, but two of the drivers or one team that I want to talk about is Red Bull because we expected them to be towards the sharp end of the field. And this is the second race in a row where it's felt like they had a race win in the bag. Okay, maybe not Brazil because we knew Jan Fehler was on the alternate strategy, but here at Mexico, we thought they had it in the bag. They were running 1-2. They had pulled over a second to the field behind. They were out of the DRS range, and then that safety car threw it all away.
Yeah, no, they both made the same decision, which if you got a team principal sort of situation, if you got a cohesive team behind, which obviously they don't, but if they did, you definitely split the strategy on the drives at the very least, if not bringing both of them in. Neither of them came in. It didn't work out well for either. Vexit finished down in 15th due to multiple front wing changes, an extra pit stop for that, and a lot of time penalties as well. So it all kind of went wrong for Vexit, but Valu, who had an otherwise relatively clean race, only the one penalty, no front wing changes, anything like that, still finished down in fourth despite having started on pole. And it was such a shame because I was really looking forward to Valu having a bit of a renaissance and the start of his renaissance in this season, maybe in that race. It was still a positive race. It's still his best result of the season thus far, and with that pole position as well. But it would have been so nice for him to get his first podium at the very least.
And hopefully for the Red Bulls, they can pick things up here at Bahrain. We know how quick Vexit is. He's been able to pick up a pole already this season. Red Bulls having picked up poles in the last two races. And let's just see how things are shaping up in terms of the championship standings as well. Because Jan Fehler has started to stretch out a bit of a gap at 20 points ahead of the duo of Christian Sendel and Ace Ritchie.
It's a bit of a gap, but it's not that much of a gap. And I'm going to remind everyone, as I do most weeks, that we have a different point scoring system here in Formula X Racing. 46 points available for the win, 49 points available total if you clean sweep the weekend in terms of fastest lap and pole position as well. So that gap can be turned on its head very, very quickly. It's not anywhere near as large as it seems. And even then, even with the normal point scoring system, it takes one bad race for Jan and a win for either Ace or Christian Sender, and they leapfrog him straight away. So even then, it is very, very close still at the top. It's great to see Christian Sendel and Ace both on the same points as well. And the Red Bulls, they still aren't out of it. If Valu gets more pole positions, has race-winning pace like he did last time, and Vexit can get P2 or vice versa, they could easily be getting up to the coattails of those McLarens with just a couple rounds left to go.
And who knows what Bahrain has in store. Now, our graphics designer Blue Wolf is a man of many talents, and he decided that he would put myself and Jacob to shame by showing us how our power rankings have fared. And, it kind of starts off, it's kind of okay, isn't it, at the start? We put Jan Fehler at the top, and he's at the top now. Christian Sendel, well, I mean, we didn't exactly know what to expect. We kind of rushed him, and that's my excuse for the second German.
Yeah, maybe if we'd had a bit more time to think about Christian Sendel, we might have put him up there in the top three. But even then, I think our predictions aren't so bad. I mean, there's a couple of big clangers, big mistakes that we've made there already. I'm sure a lot of people are aware. But you look at graphs like, take a look at Jay Hamo's graph. Look at that beautifully. It goes from 8th and then 7th all the way through. That's nice. That's very, very close to being correct. Someone who has surprised us, actually, which is shown by this graph, someone who we haven't spoken much about this season, is Cameron Cooper in the second of the Mercedes, who's finished 12th, and 11th thus far this season, despite not qualifying above 18th at any race thus far. So his race pace is about where we expected it to be in the preseason rankings. But, I mean, his qualifying pace, is about where we expected it to be. But his race pace is different. He steps up a gear in the race. And he brings a level of cleanliness and consistency that some of the other drivers, particularly in the bottom half of the field, can't really match. So he's able to outdo them by just keeping it clean and not making any major mistakes.
And, some people might see Ice Looper dropping down. He hasn't raced in the last few races, so he's an anomaly. But there is one driver who has been racing in all the races and is fairly far away from where we predicted him as well, Jacob. And that's Sandro Van Sam, because whether you want to call it a lack of pace, whether you want to say that he's had bad luck, he's been involved in incidents in the last two races, he needs to get a good race. And if he can get that here in Bahrain, it might be the perfect time for him to actually kickstart his campaign. Because at the moment, Williams is being solo carried by Pesa.
Yeah, I mean, if he could kickstart his campaign with some champagne, that would be even better, getting up there on the podium. But yeah, the thing is, I don't think it is a fundamental lack of pace for the Belgians. Sandro has qualified, admittedly, it was 16th at the first race, but I think he was driving with a very small monitor, from what I remember, some sort of weird hardware issue like that, which was a limiting factor. And then it's been 11th and 12th, and that is where we would expect him to be. That's roughly where we put him in the order. I think we had him 12th pre-season.
Yeah,
he's qualified 11th and 12th at the last couple of races. Unfortunately, in those races, he's finished 20th and 18th. So he's not had the consistency. He's been having issues. He's been getting involved in incidents, and maybe his race pace is a smidgen off where it ought to be in terms of qualifying. But one clean race, and we're easily seeing him finishing 11th or 12th at least.
Yeah, still early stages of the championship. We're about to make our way to the end of the first third. 12 rounds. We've done 3 races. So we're a quarter of the way through. Now, as some of our viewers, as some of our more veteran viewers may know, we have something called a blindfold challenge, which is where I, not physically, but I get one of the drivers to blindfold themselves, and I see how quickly they can go around France with me giving them bad directions. Now, we were speaking about Sandro, and he's been having a terrible season. So I thought, let me make his life better by blindfolding him and seeing if he can drive any better. And to be fair, I think he drove a bit better than he did last time in Mexico. I take it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with my next victim for the blindfold challenge. We've got my ex-teammate and far superior driver to me. I'm very sad to admit, Sandro Van Sant. Sandro, how are you doing?
I'm doing very, very well. Very well, yeah. And you?
Yeah, not too bad. In case our viewers are wondering why we sound kind of awkward, it's because it's very unusual for us to be in call together doing something that does not involve us saying very stupid things all the time. Sandro, how does it feel to be a sensible human being for once?
Kind of weird, actually, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I need to be calm. It's weird.
Well, we'll let you start getting a bit stupid now, and we're going to start that off with the blindfold challenge. We're at France. You've seen it a few times. How do you think you're going to get on?
I hope I can at least beat Ollie.
Yeah. He was pretty bad.
Riptide, I don't know. It all depends on my co-driver. If he doesn't say right when I need to go left.
Yeah. That is actually something I've been hearing. Apparently, I've been saying right instead of left. I'll try not to do that. So, can you show us what your blindfold is then for today?
My joggers that are too big, so they're just lying around.
Oh, all right. Well then, put it on. I tell you what, I wouldn't want Sandro's shorts over my head. No.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we need confirmation. How many fingers am I holding up?
Wait, I can... to make it extra secure.
Yeah. We wouldn't want it falling off mid-lap.
Yes.
You look like a ninja. So, how many fingers am I holding up then, Sandro?
6.
Yes!
Fuck.
No, I wasn't holding up 6.
Okay.
Okay, right. Let's jump in. Yeah. I think we should have done this once we had actually got into the garage. That's how we usually do it. So it's your 2 button. This is the bit where he goes back and exits the game and we could have stopped.
Am I in the game?
No, you're loading. Wait.
Okay.
We're slowly getting... We're building up the tension here. Okay.
Yeah, maybe I needed to put my glasses
Sandro's
on.
not even like skipping the transition here. It's fine.
Yeah,
okay.
I did it. I don't know when it is.
Yeah, okay. We are in the pit, so you've got to go to track, and we can then begin.
Yeah, okay.
Are you feeling nice and hot there, by the way? Because that looks very hot.
It is. Which button is it? Is
2.
it 2 again? Okay.
2, yeah. And then 2 one more time, flying lap. See, I didn't have to tell Riptide or Ollie this, so Sandra's already off to a worse start. Okay, 2, 1, and we're off. A little bit to the right. Left. Yeah, okay, this is a good start. Okay, reverse a bit. You're in 5th gear at the moment. Yep, reverse. Okay, stop. Right, and go a little left. Small left, small left. I'll do small and hard rights and left. So, small left. Right, and now we're back onto the track for the long right-hander. Right. Right, a bit more right. Okay, straight. Yeah, this is good speed. This is a good speed. All right. Now we're into the left-hander. Left. Honestly, this is very calm. Right, straighten up the car. Right, hard right. We're in the final corner. Straighten up the car. Okay, go straight. Okay, bit to the left. Left. Okay, we're in the pits. Right, we need to...
How did he manage this?
How do you manage this? You're the one driving, not me.
I'm pretty sure you're the problem.
Okay, reverse more. It's fine. This is your warm-up. You're getting a warm-up to the lap, okay? Never say that I'm not generous. Right, stop reversing. I know you like going backwards in the championship, but let's go forwards now and forwards to the left. Okay, straight. Right. Okay. Okay, reverse. I don't even want to say anything. Okay, stop. Okay.
Why do I hit again a barrier?
Because you were like sideways on the start-finish straight.
Okay.
Okay.
Where am I?
Okay. You're on the start-finish straight and you're pointing towards the pits. There is no pit lane now, so you just need to go forward and like 20 degrees to the left, or 45 degrees to the left. And then we start our lap, right? Then any mistakes you make counts towards your lap. You're in reverse. Okay, there we go. Right, let's go. Okay, car straight. Okay, we're just riding on the wall. You can open up the DRS if you really want. Oh, wow, getting that superior speed in. All right, bit to the right. That's left! Right, left. We're going turn 1. Okay, straighten up the car. Okay, yep. Little left. You keep starting without me saying anything straight. A bit to the left. He went right. See, that wasn't me. I said left and he went right. Straight.
What? I went left.
No, you went right when I said left, but just go straight. This guy. He was just like this in my team as well. Right, brake, turn 3, right. Left, hard left. Nice, straight. Okay, brake and turn right, hard right. Okay, right again. Okay, straighten up the car. Okay, bit more right. You went left. Now we go left. Okay, straight. There will be some questions being asked about how much track you're corner cutting here. Yeah, just keep going. It's fine. We're bouncing off the walls. This is perfect. This is what you want to do. This is how to do this. And brake. Left. Okay, braking right. Left. Okay, we're on the straight. It's fine. See, honestly, I don't know whether I want to stop you because there's a fair amount of corner cutting going on, but you're just kind of driving this without me saying anything right now. Okay, we're making our way into the right-hander. Right. And straighten up the car. You're going to need this for the corner cutting championship later. Right. Honestly, this is a really good approach to the lap. Okay, stop turning. Oh, wait. You're bouncing back in the right direction. Just go forward then, I guess. Honestly, something's cheating here. Right. It spun around too much. Okay, spin it around 180 or 90 degrees to the left. You're in reverse now. See, Sandra knows what he's doing. It's like straight into reverse and then up. Just go spin it around. I'm talking to our viewers here. Right? God, this guy. Right, forward and right. Hard right. Right, straighten up the car. Okay, a little right. That's left. Straight. Okay, we're making it into T11. Left. Or T13, sorry. Yeah, keep holding it. More left. Okay, straight. Right. Keep going right. Okay, straight. Left. Okay, straight.
Yo.
Okay, bit to the right. This is a really good lap time. Don't complain. Left. left, hard left, penultimate corner. Okay, straighten up the car, straight. Okay, slow it down, right. Final corner. Straight. No, okay, we have to spin it around. Okay, straight, right, 90 degrees right. Perfect. Floor it. Oh my god, he's actually going to do a sub 320. What? Sandro, you completed the lap.
Easy.
So, what did you make of the lap? I mean, you've kind of cut this video short because of how... And people told me that I'm bad at giving directions. Well, Sandro's got the new best time. No favoritism. It was just, Sandra and I, we've known each other for a while now. We've got a lot of synergy, and he knows what I'm thinking, essentially. Telepathy going on between the two of us. However, Jacob, I don't know if Sandra's got any telepathy with this circuit. Bahrain not on the calendar in Season 2, and a track that I saw a few people saying in the chat that they're not looking forward to. I know you like the track. I like the track as well, but maybe not a fan favorite for some of our drivers.
Well, they're all wrong. Anyone who says they don't like it, they're just wrong. They do like it really. They just haven't realized it yet. No, but I mean, it's quite a Marmite track in a way because it's quite unique really. It's very much about the exits to the low speed. If you think that your strengths lie in throttle management and getting the power laid down in the traction zones, then you probably like the circuit. If you prefer sort of sweeping, fast, sort of roller coaster like a Zandvoort or something like that, you probably don't like Bahrain so much. So it's kind of a bit of that sort of thing. Of course, turn 10 does put a lot of drivers off because it's just such a difficult corner. And I can understand that. It is really, really difficult, but that's all part of the challenge.
Yeah, I fully get it. If you don't like a corner, pretend like you just don't like the track, sour grapes and all of that. But turn 10, a very, very difficult corner. For those who hadn't seen, we did have a little bit of a track guide that came through over for the Bahrain circuit. And you can use a lot of curb, a lot of track entering and exiting corners. And we're going to be expecting to see a lot of that in qualifying. And as I say that, is it just me, Jacob, or do you hear the sound of qualifying?
You know what? I think I do. Is there qualifying over there, Mr. Production? There we go. Thank you very much. Into qualifying we go. And we've got a couple of people sitting there on intermediate tires in the pits. I wonder if we're going to see people going out there and scrubbing the track with those. And indeed, that is exactly what's happening. This is all about track evolution. It's to make sure the track evolves properly. Some drivers just go out there on the intermediate so that the track will get faster quicker because no one wants to go out there.
Honestly, I'm just waiting in a few weeks' time for, the drivers, like in Terminator or in any film with robots, they talk about how eventually the robots will gain conscious. Well, I'm scared for when the drivers will gain unity and they're all going to head out of the pits at the same time. They're going to do a rolling start and they're going to do a 2-lap race in qualifying on intermediate tires before coming into the pits and whacking on some softs.
That would be by far the best coordination between league racing drivers I will have ever seen in my life. So, when that happens, it'll be snowing in Bahrain. But for now, we just got a couple of guys out there on inters and a few guys out there on softs as well. Some people not really wanting to mess around so much. Both Mercedes are already out there. They like to get out there early in qualifying. I've noticed that. That's Connor Eddy and Cameron Cooper, both here again today. Connor Eddy will be looking for a good result here because he had a really positive start to the season. A couple of good point scoring finishes, a 7th and a 6th, and a 6th and an 8th, so slightly worse than that, but never mind. And then last weekend, he was running okay. Qualifying didn't really go his way compared to usual, and then he DNF'd from the race on the exit of turn 3. And as a result of that, he's fallen down to 10th in the point standings, where he really ought to be more like sort of 8th or thereabouts based on pure pace. So he'll be hoping for a big points haul here today.
Mexico just really did not go his way, qualifying outside of the top 10 for the first time in the season, and then the DNF had to come through as well. Not what he would have wanted at all. But again, I'm still looking at these Red Bulls, and we should probably talk more about the Red Bulls later once we make it into Q3 and once they will actually be, there's actually something to talk about. So for now, who should we talk about? Who is a driver who's usually getting eliminated or who will be at the bubble as they completely loses his rear?
Well, I think that answers your question somewhat. Zay has tended to be down there in qualifying in general, and that moment out of turn 1 won't help the Aussie. to progress. Actually, saying that, that's untrue. Last race, Zay went out in qualifying early on. Luca's just going out here on Inters, just getting out of everyone's way. But the race before, Zay qualified, actually got into Q3, qualified in 8th. So that was a good performance from the Ferrari driver on that occasion. So it's been a bit feast and famine thus far. Didn't participate in the first race, so it's quite a small sample size. But hopefully we'll see Zay pushing on in this one, but that's not a positive start to qualify.
Cameron Cooper is probably the other driver we have to keep an eye on. All 3 races, not making it into Q2, and I think he's the only driver that has that accolade. Every other driver has made it through to Q2 at some point. Just quickly checking. I think every driver has, apart from Cameron Cooper. Or Zola. No, Zola.
Yeah. I knew there was at least one other, and technically, Luca hasn't either, because Luca's only participated in one race in which he qualified, I think, 15th? Well, no, 16th. Sorry, yeah, which should leave him out in Q1 as well. But that doesn't really count, because he's only been in one of the 3 races. So let's see, then Connor Eddy coming up towards the line to set the first representative lap time of the session. It's a 1:25.450. I don't think that's going to be challenging the top end of the order, but it's not a terribly bad lap time, as Zola and Cameron Cooper go ahead and prove by going slightly slower.
I think we're looking for a Q2 cutoff. We're probably talking about the low 25s. I think anyone who gets into the 24s will be safer. But I think Connor Eddy, if he had a couple more tenths, he'd be feeling a lot happier with his lap. Just going to say, 57.2. That's not a bad lap from Jeffrey Ritchie on those intermediates.
I mean, I don't have much of a barometer on that one, to be honest, so that could be terribly slow, or it could be excellent. I really don't know. But let's take a look at Ben then. Ben is the newest full-time driver in Premier X, replacing Ice Looper, who only got to attend that first race of the season and since has fallen off in attendance and has bowed out to make way in the Renault team for the arrival of this Sidemax Motorworks driver, one of several that we've had in Premier X over the course of its 3-season-long history. But let's see what the Renault driver can do. We saw him, of course, in a Racing Point at the first race of the season. Qualified relatively well, but I think ended up DNFing from that first race. So no points on the board yet, I believe. So this will be the weekend to change that. Ben comes up towards the line and slots in between Connor Eddy and Zola. So Connor Eddy still sitting at the top there with that 1:25.450.
Top 3 drivers then so far, currently splitted by 500ths of a second. And Jacob, are we in tune for another Australia where we saw some very close times across the entire field? I think it was something like a second separating the top 20 drivers, which is much closer than what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, indeed, it is a lot closer, and it's lovely to see the drivers getting that close. Zay, by the way, just went to the top of the times in the Ferrari, the 1:25.411. Is KX Ricardo, another driver that we expect to be sort of on the bubble between Q1 and Q2, sorry. You know, qualifying in around between sort of 13th to 17th, that sort of area. Let's see what the Hong Kong driver can do as he comes up towards the line. And at the moment, it's only 6th. That's the slowest of those who have set a lap time on a reasonable set of tyres with that 26 flat. So actually quite a margin away from the rest of the field for the time being.
Riptide and Peso are on outlaps. You would expect Peso to easily make it through Q1 and probably would expect the same from Riptide. Although, that being said, 2 qualified P11 back in Australia, then P14 in Brazil, and then P15 in Mexico. So if the form continues, he might find himself getting knocked out in Q1 for the first time today.
Yeah, we might well see Zay actually out-qualifying his Ferrari teammate as well with this 25.4 that's been set thus far. We'll see whether Riptide can punch back. Of course, it does depend on certain preferences for certain drivers. Riptide has had a negative trend thus far this season in terms of qualifying, but it's only been 3 races. Could have just been a couple of tracks the Riptide didn't like. So we're yet to see whether that's actually going to play out. And of course, in the race itself last time, Riptide managed a good finish 9th. So the qualifying didn't really get him down on that occasion. But speaking of these times, so we've got 25.2 now for Connor Eddy at the very top, and then 25.4s for 3 other drivers. Whereabouts are you expecting to see a cut-off here, if you had to guess? And what are the best lap times we can be hoping for here in qualifying?
So I think that cut-off is going to be in the low 25s, pretty much where Connor Eddy is. Maybe a 25.1 might be the cut-off. In terms of a fastest lap, from what I've been hearing from the likes of Vexit, a 24.0 is attainable. So maybe we can be hopeful and think a 23-9 could be set by one of the McLarens or Red Bulls.
Yeah, tell you what, if we think back to we commentated a race in a different league recently at Bahrain, and in that league there was a certain F1 esports champion Jarno Otmir participating. He managed a 23-9. So if these drivers get 24 zeros here today, I am going to be very, very impressed indeed. But, you know, they could well be there. A couple of them, I mean, we know Jan Fehler, he's an ex-F1 esports driver. A couple of the other ones are in F1 esports challenges, all this sort of thing. So, you know, they are drivers with excellent pace. And it wouldn't surprise me to see them getting up there and close. What does surprise me is the fact that Peso has only shuffled into the middle of the pack there with that 125.5. Williams driver not having the best opening to qualify.
I'm starting to get a bit nervous about my prediction for a cutoff point. I'm sure Peso will be able to improve. He's still got 8 minutes in the session, only had 9 drivers complete a lap. Labrax is a driver who will most certainly be wanting to make it into Q3. He's made Q3 every single race so far. Worst result, and that's including races, was that P11 all the way back in round 1 at Australia. And expect this to be right in the low 25s for the Renault driver.
Yeah, Labrax has been impressive thus far this season. So he almost gets a little bit too wide through 13, but I think he collected that one up without losing too much time on the throttle. Into the final corner, final test, and again, really smooth through there actually for the Dutchman. A perfect line as well, not really any problems. And let's see whether it's good enough. It is, and it goes to the top of the order with a 125.170. So we're edging closer to those 24s. No one getting in there quite yet.
Well, one man who might get in there is this man, the Red Bull Valu. He's on a lap, his teammate slightly further up, so we might just... Actually, never mind. FXR has just allowed a few drivers to fling past him. So then it's on Valu. Let's see, he's one of our first top runners, our first super quick drivers in Premier X. And let's see what the Season 2 champion can pull out for his opening lap here at Bahrain.
Yeah, it's going to be about this final corner now. This is the last possible time, and that's a bit wider compared to what we saw from Labrax there. Valu struggling a little bit in that final corner. It wasn't perfect, but it was definitely good enough with a 124.901 to the top of the order. But still not maybe as fast as we might have expected the likes of Valu to be going, even at this early stage.
Definitely expecting more time to come through. Something else that you have to remember is this first stage of qualifying, a lot less grip on the track. You highlighted it yourself, Jacob, with the fact that a lot of drivers opting to put on the intermediate tyres to set their first lap, just to add more rubber. Jan Fehler, he's improved. He's put in a 24.7. And those times will just come tumbling over the course of the session. And you can sometimes expect from the start of Q1 to the end of Q3, even up to half a second worth of track evolution.
Indeed, yeah, and that really, I think that sort of thrilling aspect of qualifying in Bahrain, when you get a lot of track evolution, I really enjoy watching that, because there's a sort of tactical game that plays out with being at the right part of the track at the right time to make sure you get the best you can possibly get from your lap time. But here's Scars then, a new reserve driver to league. We're yet to see him participate at all in Premier X, and he's hopping into the AlphaTauri team today, who are running 2 reserve drivers because both Hamo and Ollie P could not make it here today, something that Ollie's not too unhappy about, judging by his opinion of Bahrain. Let's see what Scars is going to be able to do in his very first flying lap here in Premier X as he rounds that final corner, clunking the inside curb a little bit and leaving a bit of margin on the left-hand side on the exit. So probably left about a 10th on the table through there, and it's a 25.607. Currently good enough for 11th, but I wouldn't have thought that would be enough to guarantee progression into Q2.
And just look right now, Jacob, how close it is from Zayi in P8, well now P9, all the way down to Cameron Cooper and KX Ricardo in P16, P17. 3/10 separating nearly 10 drivers. Any one of those drivers could find themselves being knocked out, and they need to find as much time as they can. Christian Sendel, 24.9, that should see him safely into Q2.
And there's our top 5. We've got Vexit at the top there with a 24.6, and then Jan Fehler on a 24.7 just behind. 24.8 for Jeffrey Ritchie, 24.9 for Valu. It's all fitting in perfectly until you get to Christian Sendel, who didn't have the decency to go a full 10th behind Valu, unfortunately. But never mind that, because it is our top 5 drivers in the top 5 positions right now. Lars Algera is the next one knocking on the door there, but there's a bit of a gap between Christian Sendel and Lars. Then you got Labrax, Luca, Connor Eddy, and Zay Rounding out the top 10, Zay's lap time is standing up to scrutiny pretty well, but as you mentioned, the margins are so fine that even a 10th improvement from 3 drivers could move Zay down into a much more dangerous situation.
Precisely so. I do want to talk a little bit about the AlphaTauris because you highlighted them somewhat. As actually, let's just see what Maverick can pull out. Never mind, Maverick can only pull out the good old pit entry, and he does so without speeding either. So you mentioned Jay Hamo not racing. Remember, Jay Hamo 7th in the championship. He qualified 2nd in Mexico. He was leading the race for a fair amount of time as well. So it's a big shame not to see him taking part. But Scars and Luca are quick drivers. We remember Luca's great performance back in Brazil. He qualified, he didn't make it out of Q1, but was able to put in a good showing in the race and finished in the top 10.
Yeah, managed a 9th place finish from 16th on the grid. It was a great race from Luca. Very calm stuff, good, very solid progress up throughout the field. And right now, sitting up there inside the top 10, a 25-2, I reckon that's safe, actually, given the way this qualifying session has played out for the time being. I think a 25-2 will be safe to get you through into Q2. So I think Luca can rest easy with that one in that AlphaTauri at the moment. Here's Zola Zola, who's currently looking okay up there in 13th for the time being. One of our 2 drivers who has participated in multiple qualifyings, but is yet to progress outside of Q1. Getting a bit deep there into turn 4 won't help this particular lap from Zola Zola, but let's see where it is. There's a couple of tenths down there, you can see, on his previous Sector 1 lap time. So the Italian already losing time this early on. Very wide entry to turn 8 there, though, and getting on the throttle nicely on the exit.
Yeah, the entry into turn 8 was perfect from Zola Zola. You want to use as much track as possible, but that run through turn 4 was disastrous. That's where he lost pretty much a 2 attempts. Otherwise, it'd be almost slap bang even with his PB. Let's see what the end of Sector 2 is looking like as he makes his way towards that long right-hander. And that is where the checkpoint, as one might call it, or the magnetic strip for Sector 2, 600s up. That could be enough. That could be the difference between making it into Q2 and being knocked out.
It could be, but Zola Zola's backed out, was a country mile away from the apex through turn 13, and I think just lost too much time there, and we'll have seen the delta rising into the red margin once again. So just backing out, and I think just going again straight away on another qualifying lap here on that same set of soft tires. So this is going to be it then. No time left to go back into the pits. So Zola Zola is going to have to make this set of tires work. Currently sitting in 13th, looking good for now, but will need to improve, you'd have to imagine, to guarantee Q2.
I think Sandro is on a lap as well at the moment. He's making his way down into turn 11. 500s up, so that means that all of the time that he lost that gave him the 39.6 was in this final sector, or final couple of sectors. And, 12 seconds up, and I guess we don't really know if that's going to be enough to see him into Q2.
Yeah, no, it's hard to say at the moment with a 1:39.6 being the benchmark. We haven't really seen what Sandro can do thus far in this qualifying session. We're going to get a glimpse of it now as he rounds the final corner without too much major issue. Maybe a slight kick of oversteer on the exit, but it won't have mattered too much. Indeed, a 1:25.182. Up into 8th we go for the Belgian, so that's looking a lot better for Sandro compared to what we've seen thus far this season. That is easily into Q2 there. Now Zola Zola still out there on his flying lap. This time better through the first couple of sectors. He's up by a 10th compared to his best lap time. If he can nail this final corner, we'll be seeing some more improvement, especially with that slipstream up ahead.
Final corner, beautifully taken, and maybe he could have used up more track on the exit. Christian Sendel's retired from the session. He's coming into the pits. 25.3 from Zola, a 10th up, P12. But Pesso's about to cross the line, and we're expecting him to really shoot up the standings.
Yeah, Pesso out of the final. He's down. He's down 3 seconds. He's going to have to go again on another flying lap. He has enough time. So he backed out of that last lap. He's going again, but Peso is in real trouble right now. The driver who finished on the podium last time out in Mexico is on the bubble, in danger of getting knocked out in the very first part of qualifying here. We've got Scars, Yane Tripkov, Riptide, Cameron Cooper, Maverick, all behind him, all looking to go ahead. Zay as well, just ahead of him, also on an outlap. Conneretti will be able to give it a go. Yane Tripkov has invalidated, and he's back into the pits. It's another Q1 exit for the Macedonian, and this season has not gone his way whatsoever. Is Riptide going to make the line in time? Yes, he will, so that's all going to be okay. Zay behind is also going to be pretty close on that one, but does make the line. So everyone will be able to give this one another charge. Watch for Ben as well there in 13th. He has retired already.
Peso understeering into turn 10. It's so easy to do, but he was up on his PB, and there it is. The checkered flag has now come out. And, well, Yane Tripkov, he's already out, but Ben might find himself dropping out as well if the times do really drop. Peso nearly 2/10 up on his PB. He should be able to jump ahead of Ben in P13, and that should seem to safety.
You'd hope so, yeah, but it's improvement, but it's not as much improvement as we might expect from the Czech driver. Connor Eddy's just gone up there into fourth, so he's definitely home and dry in this scenario. Let's see, Peso goes ahead of Zola and Ben. Zola's back into the pit, so he cannot fight back if anyone goes ahead. That Scars are into the top 10 now as well. Here's Zay. What's Zay doing out there? Riptide as well. Let's get to the end of Sector 2 with Riptide here, see what the delta is. And he's up by a quarter of a second right now. Riptide, he needs to find that margin, though. Maverick comes through. He's only gone 17th. That's ahead of Yane Tripkov, but not enough to get him outside of Q1. Cameron Cooper goes into 15th. Could this be his first entry into Q2 thus far this season? It's up to the 2 Ferraris now. Riptide will be the first one up to the line in that Scarlet car, and it's only 16th for him. Now Zay, can he find it? No, I don't think he can. I think that was 17th.
No, it's P7.
It's 7th for Zay. He went right up. Okay, so Cameron Cooper getting knocked out instead, and Zay easily making through, as it turns out.
There's always one, isn't there? There's always one unexpected man to drop out. But here at Bahrain, I think that's a 3. I didn't think Ben would be dropping out. I didn't think Riptide would drop out. I didn't think Yane Tripkov would drop out either. And that is somewhat surprising. That being said, though, Ben's only qualifying session so far of the season. He actually qualified P18. So consistency right now for the Side Max Motorsports driver.
Yeah, indeed. And I know that we didn't have the fastest drivers setting laps when the track was at its fastest, but it's less than a second that has separated 20th to 1st in this field. Very, very close field once again, and Yane Tripkov is going to be very upset to have done what is basically a pretty good lap time and to still be at the very back of the grid.
Our Season 1 champion qualifying down in last, and you said, a second from first all the way down to P20. The more kind of appropriate statistic, the more kind of appropriate fact I feel is that we're talking about half a second from P8 all the way down to P20, and everyone I feel from P8 to P20 was pushing and was trying to get the absolute most they could so that they could make it into this session Q2. And we're already seeing both Williams driver on those medium tires. The medium hard strategy here at Bahrain is most certainly superior to the soft hards.
Yeah, so we'll see how many drivers are going to take that risk. Connor Eddy is another one provisionally sitting on those medium tires right now. I think that's a Williams leaving the pit lane at the very exit there. So we'll see which one that is, but whoever that is definitely going out. It's Peso out there, going to start on medium tires. But given the pace we saw from Peso in that first part of qualifying, I would be surprised if he's going to make it into the top 10 on these mediums, unless literally everyone decides to go for mediums. And even then, he's not really looked like the same driver that we're used to seeing qualify 5th, 6th, there or thereabouts.
Yeah, Peso. Well, let's see what he can pull out here at Bahrain. Him versus Sandro is a rivalry that, of course, goes back to the start of Season 2. These two were championship contenders, and it was Peso who came out on top. But that being said, in the dry, there are a lot of tracks where Sandro is the quicker driver. Monza, one of the biggest ones, one of the most obvious ones. But then there were other tracks, the likes of France, maybe Baku as well, where Sandro does have a slight edge. And maybe these circuits, as you highlighted earlier, Jacob, these low traction zones where it's so key to be able to get on the power without losing the rear end, maybe they just suit the Belgian driver slightly more than the Czech.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Baku, and while Baku isn't really a very similar circuit to Bahrain in many ways, it does share that particular characteristic. It's very rear limited. It's all about getting the traction down to find pace around the circuit. And if Sandro is a particularly dab hand at that and Peso isn't, then that might be why we're seeing a bit of a reversal here. Just in the first part of qualifying, of course, though. But there you can see Peso struggling with traction on the exit of the final corner. Maybe those medium tires not quite warmed up enough, as he's going to start his first flying lap of the second part of qualifying. Zola is out there as well. They're the only two drivers out there on track. And Zola in that Haas is on soft tires instead.
I'm very surprised that Peso is using the mediums this early in the session, and he invalidates straight away. He's put the ERS down to 0, so that's fine. He can go back around and start a new hot lap. But I am somewhat surprised that Peso is going for a lap on these mediums so early on in the session. We talked about the track evolution before, and the track will get quicker over the course of Q2. So if you do want to, you know, legitimately make it through, as Zola has an invalidation, and Zola, that's a naughty. You can get some penalty points for that. Remember, it happened back to Yanni Tripkov in Season 1, where he cut through the entirety of Sector 1 in France. But back to what I was saying, interesting that Peso is going for his hot lap on the mediums this early on in the session.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it does suggest maybe that he's not actually planning on qualifying on mediums in this part of qualifying. Maybe he's just going out there to get a delta on those medium tires. You'd expect those who are seriously trying to go on medium tires to go out there on softs, set an invalidated lap time that gives them a delta, and then go out there on mediums a bit later into the session for the second run and try and use that delta to compare their medium tire run compared to the soft tire run to give them an idea of where they are on that lap and whether they can complete it or whether they need to go back into the pits and find a new set of tires.
Now, Jacob, I have just been told that we haven't done any predictions yet. So, in light of that, what shall we do for our next prediction?
Are we talking a prediction in chat here?
A prediction in chat for our Twitch viewers. Of course, we'll do our own top 3 prediction once we get into Q3, but for now, Q2.
Let's say, how about... it's a tough one. I don't really know necessarily. Should we go for Peso into Q3? Because I think that's the big one here. Because on Q1 performance, seems like not, but from everything else we know about Peso, he probably should get through into Q3. So maybe that's the kind of contentious one.
And I will give our viewers 2 minutes to do that prediction.
Indeed. So there you go. It's in chat now. Everyone can go ahead and vote on whether you reckon our Czech driver in the Williams Peso will be able to advance into the third and final part of qualifying, or whether he just doesn't have the pace here in Bahrain and is going to get knocked out instead. We yet to see what strategy is going to go on, mediums, softs, anything like that. So you're not going to have all the information available to you, but that's exactly what makes it a fun gamble.
And I think it is, you know, somewhat 50-50 because it did look sketchy for Peso back in the opening session of qualifying, but I can't remember. I think it was back in Australia or Brazil where we were saying the same about Lars Algeri, who just scraped through into Q1 and then he just scraped through into Q2 and then he ended up qualifying in P6. So maybe it's similar for Peso as Zay puts in a 25.6. That is not a good lap. Remember, we saw pretty much everyone getting into or getting sub 25.5, so Zay will most certainly want to improve upon that lap time.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that is going to be enough to be even several of the medium tire runners, you'd have to imagine. So Zay will probably want to go again, maybe on a set of mediums instead. Maybe that's a sandbag lap from Zay to get a delta and then backed out of it before the line rather than invalidating intentionally. That's another way of doing it. Hard to say exactly. Valu is out here on a set of soft tires. Both AlphaTauris joining him as well as his teammate in the Red Bull Vexit. Labrax, Lars Algera, Jan Fehler all going out on softs as well. Meanwhile, Connor Eddy is out there on mediums, so is Sandro, both of them pushing on those sets of tyres right now. So we'll see whether these soft tyre runners are going to commit to completing these laps or whether they're going to invalidate intentionally just to get that delta. I think if they were going to do that, though, they would have done it earlier on, surely.
Yeah, I think so. To be honest, I think for drivers like Sandro, Luca, Scars, Lars Algera, I think, and Labrax as well, I think for them, the ideal thing to do is qualify P11. Fresh set of tyres. They're not going to make it into Q3 with a set of mediums. They don't have that kind of alien pace of the McLarens or Red Bull. So I think the best option for them is to start P11, put on a set of hards or mediums, and run the one-stop strategy. And I think we might see that from the Williams, and maybe it will play an impact on some of the bets that came through in the Twitch chat.
Potentially so. And his value then in that Red Bull was comfortably up there inside the top 6, inside the top 5, I think, come the end of that first qualifying session. So it shouldn't be any difficulty. If this is just an honest, flat-out soft tyre run for Valu, we should be easily seeing progression into the third part of qualifying. As it was 27.3 through the opening sector. That's 3 tenths up on what we were seeing from Scars on their lap. So Value definitely with a solid opening sector here.
Value back on the power on the exit of turn 10. It's looked like a quick lap so far. And oh, that was a bit of a lag that we just saw coming in for the Finn. Misses the apex somewhat through the left hand, and let's see what this sector 2 time is looking like. He probably wants a 103.5, and oh, he's at it. This is looking to be a mid-24 as things stand.
Speaking of mid-24s, Jan Fehler up to the top of the order with a 124.625. He's going to struggle to beat that with medium tyres, so softs seem to be the order of the day for many of the front runners here in this second part of qualifying. Let's see Value up towards the line now. Where's it going to be? It is the fastest with a 124.579, just half a tenth faster than what Jan Fehler was able to offer. Then he got a big gap down to Lars Algera on a 25.2. That might be good enough to get through to Q3, depending on how many drivers commit to trying to run on medium tyres. But all those who have gone on mediums, Conoretti, Peso, Sandro, none of them are even close to getting to the soft tyre runners right now. All of them over a second down. Labrax just popped up in a third there in the Renault as well.
That's a 25-1 for Labrax, and I think a 25-1 back in the opening session would have been around that kind of P7, P8 spot, and if the times are dropped, that's not necessarily going to be safety for Labrax as Vexit pumps in a 24.4, and we're getting closer to those 24 zeros that we may see in Q3, especially if we see teammates giving each other slipstreams on some of these long straights.
Yeah, Vexit, the first driver to get into the bottom half of the 24s. Jeffrey Ritchie goes fastest of the medium tyre runners, but still comfortably slower than Zay. Only 8th position right now for the Alfa Romeo with a 126.009. However, as things stand, that looks pretty good, even for getting into Q3 potentially. But if not, it looks like an 11th or 12th place qualifying lap right now. So maybe that's exactly where Jeffrey Ritchie would like to be. Christian Sendel's also gone on a medium tyre lap, so he's not going the same way as his teammate here, but only a 26.5 for him. So that's slower than both Conoretti and Peso as well.
It'd be absolutely fantastic, Jacob, as Christian Sendel invalidates his lap time. He was 3 tenths up as well, so, oh, dearie me, he might have to do a second outlap, or actually a third outlap, which is something that Peso did. He was in chat recently, Peso saying he did 3 outlaps, 600 IQ, and, well, I guess that's 200 IQ for each outlap that you do, and Christian Sendel, maybe he can reach new heights and go for 800 IQ strats.
Maybe. He's running out of time a little bit if he wants to do that many outlaps here, but he is, he's got a big decision to make here, right? Because, of course, he could just come into the pits here and go for a set of softs, like Value, Vexit, Jan Fehler have done. Those are his main competition in the standings, along with Jeffrey Ritchie. Jeffrey's the only one going the other direction on this tyre strategy here in qualifying. So Christian Sendel wouldn't lose a whole lot by going on to softs here. He wouldn't be losing out to Jan Fehler, which is the one that's most important. But he wants to steal a march. That's why he's going on these medium tyres. But this is the decision time right now. Do you commit to another lap with qualifying ticking down, or do you head back into the pits? And it looks exactly like Christian Sendel headed back into the pits there. So he does not back himself to go much faster on those mediums and will go for a set of softs instead.
Let's see what Zola can do. 104.1 at the end of Sector 2, and this is looking to be a low 25, a 25.2, most likely for the Haas driver, which we'll see him slotting right alongside Lars Algera, which is a very, very solid lap for Zola if he can manage it.
Yeah, Zola up towards the line then. Where is it going to be? It's a 125.272. Not quite at the pace of Lars Algera, but just behind and comfortably ahead of Scars and Zay behind as well. So that might be enough to get Zola not only out of Q1 for the first time, but into Q3 for the first time as well. KX Ricardo is yet to set a lap time on his set of soft tyres. The whole field currently sitting on soft tyres, most of them sitting in the pit lane though, with Vexit, Value and Jan Fehler already deciding they've done enough and they've retired from the session. So let's see what KX Ricardo can do. Just halfway through the outlap for the time being. The target will be moving very quickly when all these guys come back out on their softs.
But do not think that just because everyone is on the soft tyres that they're aiming to get into Q3. I strongly suspect that there will be a few drivers who look to qualify in that P11 spot. And the only way we'll really know who those are is you have to see who are going to be the last people out the pits, because they need to have all of the information so that they can set the perfect lap time that would get them P11, P12. and it's going to be the drivers who would only be able to qualify, you know, P9, P8, even if they did make it into Q3. And for that, I'm looking at the likes of Connor, Eddie, Sandro, Luca.
Yeah, it could well be a very astute strategical decision to go for just outside, just on the fringes of the top 10 to get onto that reverse strategy. But let's see if KX Ricardo is going to go for that, or whether we're going to see a full gun lap here from the racing point. It'll look pretty similar for the first part. It'll be only towards the very end, backing out just as you get towards the finish line, where you're going to try and sandbag the time, if anywhere. For KX Ricardo, a 27.6. So that's 0.3 down on what Value did through the opening sector. Depends on how much time KX Ricardo is going to lose relative to Value for the rest of the lap. Bit of a moment there on the exit of turn 8, though. So maybe not looking too great. And slowly into turn 10 here.
Yeah, he's backed out of his lap, and I'm going to guess he's got enough fuel to go for a second lap, and he's going to be one of the first drivers, really, to complete his final hot lap. You won't have enough time to do, you know, another lap after the one that's about to come. So KX Ricardo is going to be the first person to give a benchmark. All of the other drivers trying to make it into the top 10. That is, if KX Ricardo is able to set a good lap. If he doesn't, then he won't be the benchmark.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be, again, a bit of a moving target for many of these drivers if they are going to try and snipe that 11th place. It's going to be a very difficult game, to be honest. It's Christian Sendel, currently sitting in 12th, championship contender, second in the championship for the time being. Can't really afford to mess up in this qualifying. If he goes on softs and qualifies in 9th, he's going to need the race to go very heavily in his favor to salvage it, compared to the rest of the lot going up there inside the top 10. But of course, that'll be Q3 when that particular thing is determined. Ooh, validates there, though. Yeah, he's not got enough time. So Christian Sendel out in Q2, can't even aim for 11th either. So he might well be starting down in 15th.
Deary me, Christian Sendel, a race winner as well, out in Q2. That is not what we were expecting. Remember, it was a Peso 2 weeks ago in Brazil who didn't make it in, oh, pardon me, not Peso, Value, who didn't make it into Q2, having tried to qualify through on the medium tires, and now it's Christian Sendel, but he does have the strategy advantage. Lars Algera starts his hot lap.
Luca has retired in 15th. He retired on circuit. I don't know if he invalidated and then just pulled over and retired, or whether he hit the wall, but it seemed like it was halfway up the straight between turns 3 and 4. So I think he probably just messed up in the first part of the lap and invalidated, and therefore just retired from the session. Let's see KX Ricardo then, currently sitting on a 1:29.5. That initial lap that he backed out of, going again here in the racing point, up towards the line. Christian Sendel, of course, back into the pits. He's not going to be able to improve. Let's see. KX Ricardo up into 7th. Comfortably into Q3 for the time being, but it will start moving. There we go. More drivers coming across the line. That's Zay up into 4th now. Peso still pushing on his lap. He's half a second up in the first sector. Did I see that correctly? Jeffrey Ritchie a full second up over the second sector. Of course, that's the differential between those softs and mediums. Jeffrey Ritchie, what's it going to be? Oh, he's pulling out of it. He's pulling out of it. He wants 11th as he snails across the line there. And he just wants to guarantee starting narrowly outside the top 10. Worst case scenario, he starts 13th right now. And I think he's happy with that. Let's see what the two Williams do. It's now up to them.
Yeah, Peso's making his way up to the line. Does he slow down? I think he did. He backed out.
He did.
Oh.
And Sandro... Oh, he takes it. A 1:25.729. He snipes it at the death. It's not as easy to judge as it looked there, but both Williams stealing 11th position. First away from Jeffrey Ritchie and then away from Peso. Well done to Sandro to get that very coveted 11th spot on the grid.
And to everyone who predicted that Peso wouldn't make it into Q3, they have predicted right. And we said that there would be a few drivers who would try to go for P11. Sandro, Peso, and Jeffrey Ritchie. And Scarzy's put in a 25.5. That time wouldn't have even got him into Q2.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a very different scenario here with the drivers all sandbagging to try and make sure they can just hang out just below that Q3 margin. Jeffrey Ritchie, Christian Sendel starting 13th and 14th. I mean, they won't be happy, I don't think. I think they'd love to be in there 11th and 12th. They'd probably be happier there than starting inside the top 10 on softs, particularly if they're only going to qualify 5th or below.
And now all of a sudden you have a few drivers who otherwise wouldn't have made it into Q3. What can they pull out? I'm honestly so excited for this race, Jacob, because
Yeah.
Christian Sendel is on a completely different strategy, and how this will feed in will be so pivotal. And this is, this is the argument. Is the alternate strategy worth it? Is starting all the way outside of the top 10, starting in somewhere like P15, but having the advantage of the alternate strategy, an advantage over the course of the race? And that is the question that will be answered later on in tonight's race.
Yeah, and it's not a clean-cut answer either, because safety cars, virtual safety cars, these can play a role as well. So it's not even nailed on, even if you've practiced this a million times over and know how many seconds faster the contra strategy is relative to the regular strategy if everything goes right, because everything isn't going to go right. That's simply not how it usually works. And now it's up to these 10 drivers here to battle it out for ultimate pole position. And that is going to make a big difference as well, because starting in 10th on a set of soft tyres is really going to struggle. As Zay goes out here on a set of mediums, I think probably just out of soft tyres at the moment. So just going out there to get a bit more used to the track once again on a set of mediums before going to one last set of softs towards the end of this session. But yeah, qualifying 10th will be a disaster.
Now, it's time for the final prediction that we can bring up in qualifying, Jacob. And ideas would be, do we think a certain driver is going to get pole? Or do we think Valu will beat Vex or inter-team rivalry, stuff like that? So what do we want to go with? What do we want to make our viewers ponder over and lose all their channel points for?
I think it's a simple one. I think it's Jan Fehler pole, yes or no. I think it's as simple as that.
Okay.
Or well, actually, it could be a time-based one. That might be more. Well, it's up to you. Up to you. I'll let you take the decision.
Jan Fehler to secure pole. You know what? I'm not going to go with Jan Fehler to secure pole purely because I don't think he will take pole. We've seen the Red Bulls get pole in the last 2 races. So let's go with a time-based one. And what should we go with?
Shall we say 24-2, yes or no?
Will a 24-2 or better be set?
Yeah. And that will start at 24-299, right?
24-299. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Because we've only seen a 24-4 thus far in qualifying, unless I'm very much mistaken. So if we see that much improvement here in the final part of qualifying, which you might well do, the gloves are going to be off for the drivers. That's the point. You might do, but you also might not, and we'll see. Sometimes the pressure gets to the drivers and they start invalidating and making mistakes as well. So it's not an easy decision, that much is for sure. But right now we have Scars on screen, the reserve in the navy and white AlphaTauri. And he is currently pushing on. He's past Sector 1, he's into Sector 2 already, down towards turns 9 and 10. Infamously difficult this turn 10, but he's made relatively light work of it there.
Yeah, and on to the back straight then for Scars. That middle sector, he'll be looking to set something like a 103.8. If he can get under that, that will be a decent time, and he can then expect to, at the very least, get into the 24s. Let's see what it is. 103.9, so he's going to be right on the bubble of making it into the 1 and 24s.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be very, very close right now, and a 124 would be looking at sort of 5th or 6th on the grid based on what we've seen thus far, so that would definitely be better, at least, than starting right down at the bottom parts of this top 10. It's a 124.964. Your powers of prediction, very impressive indeed. And yeah, decent first lap then from Scars. I reckon they can be pretty happy with that as the opening exchange.
Yeah, we saw Scars and Lars Algera giving each other slipstream. Let's see what Valu can put through. And actually, Jacob, what were your predictions for the top 3? For me, I'm going Vexit, Jan Fehler, Valu.
Okay. Vexit, Jan Fehler, Valu. I mean, that is kind of what I think it's going to be.
Okay.
So I'll say Jan Fehler, Vexit, Valu in that order.
Okay. Well, Vexit, Valu, Jan Fehler, says our producer. He really wants the Red Bull redemption arc to come through. Reed, I know you like your anime, but this is real life right here, or at least virtual life. We don't get those redemption arcs in such a convenient manner. Labrax has pumped in a 25-0, a decent time. But Valu, eyes on the Red Bull. What can he pull through? And he's going to be the first of our top 3 drivers. Valu, Vexit, and Jan Fehler to complete a lap.
Yeah, we'll see. Jan Fehler did complete a lap, but it wasn't a proper one. That 129.0 was not a representative lap time from the German in that McLaren. And it's a 103.5 from Value. And if I'm not mistaken, that's sort of 124.5, 124.6, that sort of pace based on the first couple of sectors of this lap. So it's looking like a good lap again from Value, but it's not looking much like a step up compared to what we've seen thus far from the Finn. Let's see whether he's going to change that in the final sector, though, as he heads up towards the line. A 124.440. That's the fastest he's managed, but it's not the fastest we've seen.
Yeah, 24.4 coming through. Vexit, 103.7. It wasn't exactly good. He was 2/10 down on Value's lap time, so if he was going to invalidate any lap, that was the lap to invalidate.
Jan Fehler coming through with a 124.806. Admittedly, that is a set of tyres that had already done a lap. But that's not really challenging Value right now, and that's not making it look too good for getting down into the 124.2s. As KX Ricardo comes across the line slowest of the bunch with a 125.8. That might have been on a used set of tyres if I had to guess, as KX Ricardo has been able to go faster than that elsewhere in qualifying. We still got Zola, Lars Algera, and Zay sitting in the pit lane. They're three drivers that will be very happy to have made it into Q3, even if the circumstances are a little bit strange.
Yeah, Ricardo, Zay, Zola, but remember, at the start of the race, they're really going to be struggling. You know, they're going to be dropping back from the front drivers and be having the guys on the mediums behind them hot on their heels. And it's going to be so interesting to see how it affects the strategies across the circuit. And, well, our prediction in the chat was a 24.2. Would we see a 24.2 or better be set? And it's pretty much dead even. We're seeing 11k between both 49% to 51%. And to be honest, it could be done. It's very close. You picked a very good lap time as the benchmark there, Jacob.
Thank you. Yeah, and at the moment, I'd be leaning towards no, based on what we've seen thus far from Value, from Jan Fehler, and from Vexit. We'll see. Now, Vexit, I think this isn't a push lap, unless I'm mistaken. Yeah, no, he's heading back into the pits on this one, so not going again on the same set of tyres for the Englishman. So everyone will basically get one or maybe two more laps, but it's only going to be one more set of tyres for every single one of these drivers from this point until the end of quali, where they get the top 10 on the grid fully decided.
And Jacob, we have a celebrity in chat. Christian
right?
Sendel saying, I predict a 24.3. Well, we'll have to see whether that does come through. Sadly, Christian Sendel not in our third session of qualifying, invalidating his final run in Q2, but he has that advantageous strategy. He has the alternate strategy. He can start on the mediums or the hards, and I'm going to guess he'll start on those hard tires, and we'll see what he can pull through over the course of the race.
Yeah, indeed. So it might well be a pretty positive position that Christian finds himself in. He's just said he's bottled it completely in chat, so evidently he's not too happy with it for the time being. But yeah, we'll see whether that will change once the race gets underway or not. Zola currently the only car out there on a lap, but it is only an out lap for the time being for the Italian in the Haas. As Marincello, his teammate, not here today, replaced by Maverick, who descended out in the first part of qualifying. So Zola flying the flag for the American outfit here in the third part of qualifying. And yet to set a lap, but should be able to get down into about the 25.2s from what we've seen thus far.
We just need 2 more tenths. Well, actually 1.5 tenths to get into that final, or to get into the 24.2s. And Jacob, both of us, we put Value, you know, in third of our list in our prediction. So there is still hope for those who have put down their channel points for the 24.2. Let's see what Zola can do. Maybe Zola can pull out something miraculous and get low down into the 124s. Would be rather impressive to see if he is able to manage it.
Yeah, it's going to be very telling once we get to the end of Sector 1 here what that sector time is going to be, because it's been smooth enough through Sector 1. No obvious mistakes or anything like that. So Zola, if he is down on time a little bit, it'll be on raw pace and nothing else, as that's all very smooth through Turn 4 as well. And it's a 27.6. Yeah, again, that's 3 tenths off the sort of fastest lap times that we'd be seeing in the first sector alone, and that's only a couple of corners that, that are anything to think about, really. Into Turn 8, that was relatively okay, though, from the Haas driver, and now Turns 9 and 10, very deep before getting on the brakes there, but it's paid off for him. That's a brave way to drive Turn 10.
Very late on the brakes, doesn't quite get up to the apex, but as a result, he carries a little bit more speed through the corner, down into Turn 11. And as you said, Jacob, it's been a very tidy lap. All the lines are spot on, and it's just if he's lost time, it's just from braking a little bit too early, not carrying enough speed. 103.9 at the end of Sector 2. And actually, that was a purple middle sector. I think that was one of the fastest middle sectors we've had all day. And this might be a 24 from Zola, but it's going to be very close to a 25-0.
Yeah, at the moment he's on 25-0 sort of pace. Let's see whether he's lost anything to that final sector. He's lost another 10th, but a 25-1 is not a bad lap time at all. Unfortunately for him, can't get ahead of Labrax or Scars, but is currently sitting ahead of Conoretti and KX Ricardo. Conoretti will be pretty unhappy with that. KX Ricardo almost losing it over the curbing there in the second sector of the lap, at the beginning of that second sector. So he'll have had to back out of this lap entirely. He has enough time to go again on this same set of tyres, has given himself that margin at least. That was a very hairy moment for the Racing Point.
Yeah, just trying to use up too much curb while getting on the power. Back end steps out. So I think Valu, this man on your screen right now, is going to be the first driver to set. First driver of the ones we think could take pole to set their final hot lap. Let's see what he can pull out. Currently sitting provisional pole at 24.4. But I have a sneaky suspicion that someone will be able to nip ahead of that if he's unable to improve.
I don't think a 24.4 will be our pole time right now, but I do think Valu has it in himself to improve that, and a 24.3 might well be our pole time. It's going to be very close out there at the top. You'd have to imagine, as long as Vexit can get a clean lap altogether, as Valu almost playing with fire through turn 3 there with track limits, but holding on to it relatively nicely. Now, all the way over to the left on the entry to turn 4, braking with that curb between the two sets of tyres. And then on the exit, running just a little bit too wide, and that is the invalidation. And that's a shame, because that was the fastest Sector 1 time I've seen from any driver thus far. That was a 27.2, a 27.305 coming through from Vexit. That's very respectable as well. If he can continue that sort of pace through the second and third sectors, he'll be right up there with Valu.
Something else to mention, will Valu give Vexit slipstream? Valu's lap's done, and Valu's not too far ahead of Vexit, so he could give a really nice tow to his teammate. But don't forget, these two are battling for that pole spot. It could be an all Red Bull lockout. Does Valu play the team game, or does he play the individual game?
I think you've got to play the individual game at this stage. You know that both of you are potentially battling for the championship. You're sitting on pole. You do not want to let someone who can very much take pole away from you do just that. And it's a 1:03.3, but he runs wide. Vexit takes too much through 13, and that will be that. He will not set a lap time here in Q3. And that's no pole for him. And he was on to at least get into the 24.4s as well. Let's see what it is. He's kept pushing.
It's a 2.
It's a 2. It was a 2, and he couldn't set it.
What about Jan Fehler? Jan Fehler's coming through the final corner now, Jacob. Can he do it?
Let's see, Jan Fehler up towards the line. It's a 24.4. It's identical, but he takes it. It must be the tiniest fraction of a thousandth faster. That is ridiculous. Jan Fehler steals pole away at the death. Lars Algera, he's the last one to come across the line along with Scars. Up into 4th he goes. That's a lovely lap from him. A 24.8, and Scars gets into 3rd with a 24.6. That's a great lap time from Scars.
Jacob, it's Australia all over again. Vexit had the pace. Our predictions were right. It was supposed to be Vexit, Jan Fehler, Valu, but Vexit, in the end, he doesn't even set a lap time. He's starting all the way down in P10. And in terms of a battle between Vexit and Christian Sendel has the strategy advantage.
Yeah, Vexit is in a really bad spot. I mentioned at the beginning of Q3 how P10 is very much, and it's not much of a chalice, but it's a very poisoned chalice if it is a chalice, because you do not want to be starting down there on a set of soft tires. As kudos to Scars for getting within a quarter of a second of the ultimate pole time, and also Valu. He's going to be very upset because Jan Fehler set the same lap time as him after he did and has somehow snuck pole away.
And usually, when two drivers set the exact same time, it's the driver who set their lap time first who starts ahead. But not this time, Jan Fehler. I honestly cannot believe. Second time in 4 races it has happened to Vexit. And this is just happening too often. But on that note, we're jumping on in for the race. I'm going to have to dip for 10 minutes because I get to do something very lovely called eat for the first time today. So Jacob, best of luck with the race start. And when I return, I'm going to hope that nobody gets DNF'd and we have an amazing race all set up.
Indeed. Enjoy the snack, and see you in a few minutes' time. It's just me and you guys now, chat, as we are getting into the session. And of course, as Reed just reminded me, he is also still here, the producer. It'd be very bad news if he wasn't. So thank you for still being here, Reed. Much appreciated. He's in charge of all the cameras and all that sort of thing. As we're waiting for the drivers to get their setups nailed on before getting onto the formation lap. Fingers crossed that we have a clean start to this lobby. We haven't had too many of them thus far this season, and it would be a lot more difficult for me to try and fill the time on my own without Yousuf here once we sort of get out of the session, if we are going to have to remake the lobby. So let's hope that we're able to keep going with this one. As the ticks are coming through, the drivers are now getting ready for this formation lap. And once we get onto the formation lap, we will be able to see who's going to be starting on which set of tires. What everyone who started outside of the top 10 is going to opt for, whether it's going to be hards or mediums from all those guys. As the formation lap just about to get underway now. The lights are on. We still have the overlay. There we go. Okay, nice. Let's take a look at the tires then, if we could. Production. Hard tires, yeah, okay. And actually, hold on. This isn't a formation lap, is it? This is started. There's no formation lap. The formation lap was turned off, and the drivers are going. I think we're probably gonna have to remake on this one because yeah, there's a big crash as well on the exit of turn 1. No formation lap. Yeah, surely this is gonna have to be a remake on this because all the drivers will have been expecting a formation lap. There was meant to be a formation lap, so I think we'll get out of this one in just a moment's time here. But it is Fehler leading from Valu and Connor Eddy in third, if you're interested in this particular race start. And it's interesting to see how many drivers went for hards as well, rather than mediums. But yeah, let's just get out of this session. There you go, yeah. You can see the drivers just having a little bit of fun with it there, Zola and Zay. Yeah, so just a moment here while we get this one sorted out, I think. Should see the drivers starting to leave the session in just a moment in time. There is Vexit leaving. Hopefully, I mean, that's the situation for the drivers as well, because a lot of them won't be sure whether it's meant to be remade or not for this moment in time. So it's going to have to take a few drivers leaving the session before people realize that they also need to be leaving this session. Right now, though, we have got Fehler leading from Valu. I'm going to talk about it as if it's real, because for right now, we just got to, on the off chance, there's Luca retiring from the session. That might make it a bit clearer for some of these guys here. In fact, we've got a safety car out. That's going to calm things down. We're seeing retirements coming through. I think the drivers are all working it out under this circumstance. Zola's pitting. This would be a great call on strategy. But yeah, migrating host. Okay. That is good news that we have made sure that we are going to have this remade. No formation lap. It's not what the drivers were expecting. It's not what we're meant to have. So we are going to go back and make a new lobby with a formation lap. And as a result, I think we're going to head to a quick break while we get that set up for you. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few minutes' time with the proper lobby and the race start itself. right, welcome back, everybody. Sorry about that brief delay. We've got the lobby remade. Everyone's been put back into order now. Everyone is just working out their setups, making sure they're all rosy, and as they were, making sure everyone's on the same set of tires before we get back onto the grid for what will actually be a formation lap this time around. No formation laps in this one, at least, so I hope. Yousuf isn't quite back with us yet, so it's still just me for the time being. He will be back probably in a few minutes here, so he might be back just before the race starts. Hopefully he is, but he won't miss too much, so it's happened to suit him on this occasion, so that's nice. Yeah, as we see the drivers now starting to ready up before we get out there onto the grid. And just while we got you here and while we're waiting for the formation lap to start, why don't you guys all put in chat who you reckon, who are you predicting for the podium for this one? I'm still a bit on the fence about it myself because I don't know exactly the difference between the strategies here. And of course, a lot can still play into it. But yeah, I'd love to know what you guys reckon will be it for the top three going into this one. Zay is on medium tires. That's not correct. Zay has gone on medium tires here. That is not ideal. Okay, hopefully we'll be able to press on regardless. He might have a penalty coming through for Zay or something like that for that one. But that is a unfortunate mistake to have made getting into this lobby here. Yes, so bear with us while we work out exactly what the situation is for that one, whether we restart the lobby or whether it's going to be a just a penalty or something in race or something like that. Zay is saying that the game put them on mediums and they didn't have a say in it, so it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. And there we go. The session no longer exists, apparently. So looks like we will be going to another restart here, another lobby restart to sort things out. So yeah, apologies for that one. Not much we can do about it here, unfortunately. So I think we'll just head to another quick break then while we work out what exactly is going on. And we'll be back with you again shortly. Sorry about this. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We'll be into our third race in just a moment's time. Here, our third race lobby. And hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will get underway. If that lobby fails for some reason, I think we will postpone the race because obviously it's getting a little late for certain drives in certain parts of the world. So the race will be postponed if that happens. Hopefully it will not, and hopefully we can get into it without any trouble. And it's it had enough time for Milky to join me back in the commentary box again, so that's nice at least. So welcome back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I'm feeling a little bit more nourished now, and I think the restarts. It was all a scheme. It was all planned just so that I'd be here, so that I could see the race at start as well. I don't want to miss any action, and just had to send a few packets over to the F1 servers, just to get my way.
Just a few lovely little parcels, packets full of goodness, of course, nothing else. But yeah, so I'm trying to remember the grid order now. It's been a minute. Thinking about, let's see. I think there's a picture of
Vexit
it
got
somewhere.
pole, right?
Yeah, Vexit got pole. He did great, excellent job in third qualifying for Vexit. Yeah, no, starting down in 10th. So yeah, let's talk about Vexit for a bit. Starting there in 10th, got both of the Williams behind, two drivers who tend to be quite strong, and Sandro looks more back on form based on qualifying here at Bahrain. Jeffrey Ritchie also sitting there 13th, Christian Sendel 14th. It's four really threatening drivers immediately behind. Luca in 15th as well is a driver who we've seen generally with good pace in the first part of qualifying at least as well. How much trouble is Vexit in, and what's the best sort of result that you're expecting that Vexit can manage here?
So the interesting thing that I'm looking to see is there's two possible things that you can be seeing from the guys starting from 11th and down. Either they're going to start on the mediums or they're going to start on the hards. And the decision that they have to make is, if they start on the hard tires, will they be able to stay within a second of the guys ahead of them on those soft tires? So what I'm expecting to see is the likes of Sandro being on those medium tires. Maybe Pesso will go on hard so that the Williams can have two different strategies going on at the same time. But for someone like Christian Sendel, he'll want to start on hard tires. He should have confidence that him on hard tires can stick with the guys on mediums, who will then stick to the guys on soft tires. And then by using that, he should be able to have an advantage going into the latter stages of the race. And the medium tires, I think you're probably expecting them to pit around about lap 13, lap 14, if I'm not mistaken. But it all comes down to those first few laps, just making sure that they don't drop more than a second behind the guys ahead. And who knows, because even if they stick within a second, the likes of Zay may find themselves falling over a second behind the leading group, and that's when things get difficult for those on the alternate strategy.
Yes, indeed. And they don't want those gaps to be forming. I'd expect to see those gaps forming inside the top 10. And again, that's going to be another challenge for Vexit, because there's a few drivers he's definitely faster than, just ahead, but they are on the same strategy as him, the same set of tires. So it's not going to be so easy for him to get past the likes of Zay. You've got Lars Algera ahead. You've got Connor Eddy up there as well. Several drivers between himself and the people he really wants to be battling with. So he's going to have to make light work of those if he's going to salvage a lot from this race, you'd have to imagine. From what I remember, the vast majority of those starting outside the top 10 did opt for the hard tires. There were a couple on mediums, but most did go for those hard tires, if I remember correctly. So that is the direction most of them have elected to head in. And here we go. We can see it now as we are into the formation lap here. And there you go. Only Peso on the medium tires. The rest on the hards. Everyone inside the top 10 is blessedly on the correct set of soft tires. Oh, you love to see it.
Yeah, so the Williams strategy, Sandro's going to be letting Peso through right from the get-go. If he wasn't planning on doing so, I think they would have, switched it around. We said already that they'd probably go for differing strategies. So Peso's going to be let through by Sandro heading into turn one, give or take. And then Peso's going to try to follow Vexit through the likes of Zay and Ricardo, because Vexit's on those softer tires. And those are, the soft tires that he would have qualified on. But remember, server restart coming through, everyone in the top 10 on a brand new set of soft tires. So this does compromise those on the alternate strategy ever so slightly. Remember back to Australia, where it was Jan Fehler who forgot, wait, hang on a minute, it's a lobby restart. That means that the soft tires could have lasted a lap longer, and his undercut that he tried to play off completely failed. So hopefully this time Jan Fehler is fully aware that everyone is on a brand spanking new softs.
Yeah, it's going to stagger the pit stop strategy by at least a lap for the sort of median of the pit stop strategy, maybe even 2 laps here, because of course it would be outlap flying lap on qualifying lap in lap. So that's going to take usually around 2 laps worth out of those tires. If you're very careful, maybe more like 1.5. But we could see a definite staggering in the strategies here as Jano Tripkov is lining up at the very back of the grid. And now the lights are finally coming on here in the moonlit Bahrain with Jan Fehler on pole, Valu alongside. Identical lap times in qualifying. Will they be nip and tuck in the race as well as we get underway here in the desert? And Jan Fehler looks to have had an excellent start. He is running straight away from Valu, who's under a bit of pressure from Scars. Is Conneretti getting involved as well? He's going to be going up the inside of Scars. He's trying to take the position away. He'll have to try and take it around the outside of turn 2, braving it through 3, but he's just about held up alongside. Lars Algera is there in 5th with Labrax in 6th. Oh no, that's someone round. It's Luca. Luca's gone all the way around, and a Williams. It's Sandro. They've come together. Luca and Sandro, and both of them have come to blows at the start. Now Christian Sendel's making progress. Peso as well. Vexit battling with KX Ricardo. He's been able to get past the Hong Kong driver and up into 9th. He still needs to make more progress though. There's Labrax going up the inside of Zola. Zay getting interested as well as he's trying to go around the outside of the Italian in towards turn 10, but Zola holds on to 7th position for now. Meanwhile, at the very front, Jan Fehler has almost dropped a second to Valu already.
Yeah, Valu struggling on this opening lap. Thankfully for Sandro, while he was involved in the incident, he didn't pick up any damage, and that is critical because at least now he can stay on those hard tires until his designated pit stop. But again, another incident for Sandro, 3 races in a row, and this is really hurting his championship.
Yeah, Jane Tripkov's had a great start. Started down in 20th and now up into 15th. Of course, the demise of Sandro and Luca has helped him. But he's got past Riptide, Maverick, and Ben as well. Here is Ben having a look at the Maverick in this all-reserve drive, or would have been a reserve driver battle. But Ben now a full-time driver in that Renault team and trying to score some points for the French outfit. But the switch back on there. Oh, what is that from Maverick? That is overly aggressive, pushing the Renault off the track. And Ben fights for his space on the road and just about manages to get it there. They're going to be battling in towards turn 1 as well. Meanwhile, Zay and Zola have switched positions. That's Zay getting past Zola as they are starting to fall a little bit away. They're pretty close to Labrax, but he himself is threatening to fall outside for second from Lars Algera. There is Zola running wide, and that's Vexit getting through, and KX Ricardo might be able to take advantage as well. Meanwhile, further up, Conneretti, he's been able to get past Scars and up into 3rd. The top 2 are dropping the rest of the field, though. 1.8 seconds between the Mercedes in 3rd and the Red Bull in 2nd.
I think Maverick and Ben are still battling it out. Sandro has a closed up 2 at the back of them. For those people thinking that, it's a top 2, they're going to fly away with this. Well, we still have to see what Vexit can pull out. Christian Sendel on a different strategy as there goes Sandro down the inside into turn 10.
Down the inside, the switchback attempt there from Maverick, but he can't pull it off. And Sandro makes the move and moves up into 18th. He'll be trying to close down Ben, but there is a bit of gap that's
Maverick has wing damage. I think his front left end plate was missing, Jacob. I just barely got a shot of it, but I think the front left end plate has disappeared. Yes, it has, so Maverick's going to be really struggling. I think that might be yellow damage considering how far back he's falling from the Williams.
Yeah, and it's not on the side of the car that you want either. That's going to hurt you through all of the right-handers, and there's more right-handers than left-handers here in Bahrain, so that is not good news for Maverick whatsoever. Jan Fehler, Valu, Conneretti, and Scars make up the top 4 right now. Lars Algera has closed back in 2 Scars in 4th, so he is getting more interested in that particular battle. Zay close behind Labrax. He's looked like he's had solid pace on the start of this race in that Ferrari. Vexit has been able to dispatch Zola as well as KX Ricardo, so he's up into 8th. He's got past 2 of the soft tyre runners. He'll need to get past a few more before he's going to be happy with the way this first stint is going. Peso is ahead of all the hard tyre runners, but he's not stayed within DRS range of that top 10. Is that going to be bad news for him going forward?
It could be really bad news for him. However, you do have to remember those soft tyres will start to be falling off the pace, and Peso should be able to close in. The reason Peso is over a second behind is because he was behind Jeffrey Ritchie, so I'm presuming that he had a bit of a battle with the Alfa Romeo driver, but that gap is starting to close down, and right as I say that, it then pops back up to nearly 1.6 seconds. So Peso needs to get his head down. He should be able to close back to within a second. Maybe once we get to about lap 5, lap 6, but for right now, it's not a huge issue.
Zay is all over Labrax right now, and Vexit's all over Zay, so this could well be 3 wide down towards turn 1 unless they're very careful. As Labrax getting a bit of a gap on this back straight here. The DRS will kick in, of course, and there'll be some more slipstream. Will Zay have a better run through this final corner? They are all in a DRS train, so they're all going to have the same advantage with the exception of Conneretti up there in 3rd. I think Scars was just about clinging on in DRS range in 4th. And there is Labrax throwing a little bit of a defensive shape, but not really with any need to do so, as Vexit and Zay just go in single file behind. Zola falling a little bit away from the top 8 now, down in 9th. Ricardo falling with him in 10th, but they are still gapping Peso, who's now 2.3 seconds behind the soft tyre runners. And that's going to be bad news for both Jeffrey Ritchie and Christian Sendel as well on their hard tyres, because they're going to be stuck behind Peso. They're not going to find it easy to get past the Czech driver, and he is losing time, significant time, to the top 10.
It says Vexe sending it down the inside of the Ferrari. That's a beautiful send from the Englishman. Vexe up at 2 P7, but to continue on what you were talking about, Jacob, I'm not sure if Peso made a mistake because he has lost nearly a second on the last lap. I mean, it is pretty much a second on the last lap. For the guys on the hard tires, I think they're going to be somewhat happy just to sit in his slipstream for now, because those hard tires will be slower than at Peso's and mediums as Zola. Zola just drops the position to KX Ricardo.
Yeah, great qualifying for Zola. His first exit of Q1 of this whole season, made it into Q3, but now has fallen down to the back end of that top 10, losing out to the likes of Zay, KX Ricardo, and Vexit. And here is Vexit, who has managed to pass Zay, as you mentioned, in towards turn 8, and now close behind Labrax once again. Labrax is still within DRS range of Lars Algera, who's quietly chugging along pretty well in 5th, to be honest. Good race thus far for him in the Alfa Romeo, but of course the strategy will not suit him the later this race goes on. 4 laps in now, onto the 5th lap of this race. And it's still 1.7 seconds between Connor Eddy and Valu, so the gap between those two isn't really ballooning in the way we might have expected it to. Yanni Tripkov, meanwhile, has been able to get past Cameron Cooper for 14th, so the Macedonian's charge up the field continues. He has gained plenty of positions since the beginning of this race. Labrax with a bit of mistake through turn 4. Vexit really wrestling with the wheel on the exit of that one to try and get the power down to take advantage. Couldn't quite do so, but might be setting it up into turn 8. He's close. He's going to send the dive bomb up the inside. I could see that one coming from a mile away. Labrax couldn't, though, and he's having to let Vexit through. Lovely move once again by the Red Bull driver. He's going to make that his trademark.
Great stuff from Vex. Exact same move that he pulled on the Ferrari of Zay just 1 lap ago. And I think he might even want to do the same move on Lars Algera. It's one of the few places here at Bahrain where you can overtake, considering that you're not making your way to the end of a longer straight or the end of a DRS straight. And for Vexit right now, the best he can really hope for in this race is P3. And realistically, it's probably P5, because I think he's still going to finish behind the likes of Jeffrey Ritchie and Christian Sendel.
Major moment there on the exit of turn 13 for Labrax. The Dutchman is going to have Zay all in his rear mirrors. Zay doesn't want to take the position into the final corner. He wants the DRS and the run down towards turn 1 to be in his favor in that Scarlet Ferrari. The yellow and black Renault will try and battle him off, and will be able to do so, actually, with the DRS off of Vexit's car up ahead as well. Connor Eddy starting to fall further away now from Valu and Jan Fehler out at the front. Those two still doing a good pace out there for the time being. Jeffrey Ritchie getting past pace, so that's going to be important, because they are now 3 seconds away from this top 10. So Jeffrey Ritchie will now needs to put his foot on the gas and start to close down that gap, because they've lost a lot of time, himself and Christian Sendel, at the hands of Peso.
Yeah, there's a yellow flag in Sector 1. I'm not quite sure what that was for. That, I think, was for Ben. He's dropped down to P19, so I'm not sure what has happened to him. I think he was ahead of Sandro. I don't know if he was ahead of Luca, but either way, the Renault has dropped down to P19, and Christian Sendel is now sniffing all over the rear of Peso, who's really struggling. I do wonder, does Peso have some damage? Because he should be faster at this stage of the race on those medium tyres.
I mean, we saw he wasn't exactly electric in qualifying. I think he just doesn't like the circuit. The Czech driver is struggling here in this race for race pace as well as for qualifying pace earlier on. And it's something that we saw in Brazil as well from Peso. It was just not a strong race from him. It was peculiar. He just went backwards. And he's threatening to do the same thing here. He may still be in position to sneak some positions away from the likes of Zay, KX Ricardo, Zola when we get towards the end of this race. But it's still looking potentially like Peso might be finishing outside of the top 10 here on pure pace alone.
And this is going to be terrible for Williams, because Peso, he's down in P12 and he's the man that's carrying Williams forward. Sandro's looked quick here, at least in qualifying, and that incident on lap 1 has really cost him as Christian Sendel throws it down the inside of the Williams. Yeah,
so Christian Sendel making light work of Peso, just as Jeffrey Ritchie did a lap ago. but Peso's pace has led Jeffrey Ritchie to be able to gap Christian Sendel. Christian will want to get back in that DRS range. Thankfully, he's just on the cusp of it right now, so he should be able to do that without too much trouble, being one of the very fastest drivers in Premier X. Meanwhile, both of them are getting closer once again to those soft tyre runners. The soft tyres starting to fall away a little bit, as you see Zay having a bit of a moment there on the throttle on the exit of turn 8. But KX Ricardo and Zola Zola in particular are starting to fall backwards towards the Alfa Romeo in 11.
Yeah, and you can see the gap between Zola Zola and Jeffrey Ritchie really diminishing. It was about 2.2 seconds not long ago, and they've already gained half a second. We're getting to the point, if these guys in the top 10 were on the soft tyres that they had used in qualifying, if it wasn't for that lobby restart, they would really be struggling as Labrax. Another mistake for the Renault driver.
Yeah, and again, it's through turn 13. Labrax has been struggling with that turn all race long. He's made a mistake in turn 4 at one point as well. This time, the mistake is big enough that Zay can just take advantage and have a free position, really. No time loss at all for the Ferrari in making up that position. Labrax was just clean out of the way. Meanwhile, at the very front, Valu is having a go at Jan Fehler for the race lead. And he looks like he's taking it away. Jan Fehler down into second. Valu, the Finn, moves up into first in what is a very important race for his championship charge.
Has Valu done it one lap too early? Because I think the guys on the soft tyres will be wanting to pit at the end of lap 8, maybe lap 9 for hard tyres. And if Valu's not coming into the pits at the end of this lap, it doesn't mean that Jan Fehler will have the opportunity to get back past. Either way, good stuff up from Valu being able to claim the lead of the race.
Vexit, meanwhile, has been able to get past Lars Algiera into turn 1 as well. So it's been a happy lap thus far for both of the Red Bulls, but Jan Fehler's got back past Valu into turn 10. Valu must have made a mistake or something. Jan Fehler, in an unorthodox part of the track, has got back past the Red Bull. Maybe Valu wanted that. Maybe he's heeding your words and realizing he wanted to be second going on to this next lap to try and take it away from Jan Fehler again. But either way, a bit of a ding-dong battle arriving at the front of this race right now. And they're still being able to gap the rest of the field pretty comfortably. 2.8 seconds between themselves and Connor Eddy as they head down this back straight towards turn 14 and 15, the final corner of the circuit. Jan Fehler with a bit of a lock up there, but doesn't run too wide. He's got a clean enough run onto the main straight. And Valu is pulling the trigger and going for the undercut.
This is why Valu let Jan Fehler past. If he did let Jan Fehler past, if he was ahead of Jan Fehler and he dives into the pits, Jan could just follow him in. But because he's let Jan Fehler through, it means he can pit and Jan Fehler will not be able to answer. Now, if Valu can get off a mega undercut with these harder tyres, he could find himself breaking out of that 1 second DRS zone to Jan Fehler. It's all about this outlap for the Red Bull driver.
Speaking of the Red Bull, the other one, Vexit, now has clean air. Plenty of other drivers came into the pits. Connor Eddy, Lars Algiera, Scars, and KX Ricardo. Scars has actually lost out pretty significantly in the pit lane, losing a position to Lars Algiera and a significant amount of time to Connor Eddy. Vexit now has that clean air. About 4 seconds was the gap between himself and Jan Fehler. It's closed to about 3.9, so his pace is solid as we would expect. But it's going to be tough to make those soft tyres work too well for him right now, given that they are at the very end of their life, really. Their effective life, at least.
Christian Sendel, Jeffrey Ritchie now within a second of Zola Zola. And, well, if they had been the one starting in P11, they could have stuck to the soft tyres in the DRS train. And right now, they wouldn't be sitting in P5, P6. They'd probably be sitting in P3 and P4 because the top 10 has really started to expand out before those pit stops that did end up coming through. So Jeffrey Ritchie and Christian Sendel, they'll be hoping that Zola Zola and Labrax, they pit pretty much as quickly as possible, give themselves some clear air and start pushing. Jan Fehler will pit. Where does he come out relative to Valu? That is a question.
The quickest response he could possibly muster to the attempted undercut from Valu. On those hard tyres, it can be tough to pull off an undercut sometimes because they do take a little bit of time to heat up the hardest compound, but at Bahrain, it's less of an issue than it is at most places. And the soft tyres will have fallen well off of the cliff at this point. So here comes Valu down the main straight. Jan Fehler's getting towards the pit exit, but it looks to me like the Finn will be able to retake the race lead. It's going to be close, though, actually, as they head down into turn 1. And Jan Fehler is still ahead for the time being. Valu will try and set him up for a move in towards turn 4 here, while Jan's still getting his tyres up to temperature. But the gap hasn't really changed between the two of them, despite the attempted undercut there. Meanwhile, further up, Riptide is getting past Cameron Cooper for what is currently P5 on the road. And Valu can't get close enough to Jan Fehler, so Jan retains the lead.
And I honestly think that could be the difference between this having been a lobby restart and it not being a
Oh,
lobby
Ben's
restart.
off. Ben's off,
What
sorry, on
happened
the
to Ben?
outside of turn 8. He's lost it. There we go. He's just recovering back to the track. And that's going to put him amongst the pigeons. Or rather, one pigeon amongst a whole lot of cats right now, because there's a lot of guys on fresh hard tyres that are just behind him. And he is on a much more worn set of hard tyres. So he might struggle to keep the likes of Conor Eddy, Lars Algera, Vexit behind for too much longer. Speaking of Vexit, he was able to dispatch Lars in the pit stops as well. So he's gained another position.
Vexit's actually dropped behind Lars, so Vexit was ahead of Lars. So it's weird that the undercut has not worked for Value, but it has worked for Lars Algeras. Here comes Luca.
Luca going up the inside of Cameron Cooper, trying to get the position stuck as Cameron picked up the first 3-second time penalty of the race on the exit of turn 13 while they were battling. Now Sandro, he's getting involved in this fight as well. He has nothing to lose in this race, nothing to lose in the championship. And he'll want to get past the Mercedes driver who qualified relatively well and is actually sending it back up the inside of Luca right now and makes the move. Lovely stuff there. Luca just a bit deep into turn 1 and he loses that position he fought so hard to gain. Further back, Vexit is dispatching Lars Algera. You can see it in the background there. He's been able to get past him. And Conor Eddy's been able to get past Ben as well for 11th.
And now Vexit just has to get the hammer down. He has to try to pull away from Lars. He cannot afford to be battling with the Alfa Romeo. He needs to try to close up to Conor Eddy and Value, who are currently 2 seconds ahead of him.
And Maverick just at the very back. He had to pit for that wing damage, of course. But other than that, the rest of this field all still very tight throughout the whole length of it right now. Zola sitting in 19th, but he has pitted. And many drivers still haven't. The top 8 and Ben are all still yet to pit in this one. Jeffrey Ritchie leading from Christian Sendel. Peso falling further away from them. On his set of medium tyres, he'll be regretting the decision, I'd imagine, to go onto those yellow-walled mediums instead of the white-walled hard tyres. Yannick Tripkov's not exactly closing him down for 3rd position right now, but sitting in 4th is a very solid position for Yannick, considering he started 20th and last. And then you got Riptide, Cameron Cooper, VRT, Luca, and Sandro rounding out the top 8. But Jan Fehler is looking to change that in just a moment. But right now, his teammate Christian Sendel is going to be sending it up the inside. And no battle there from Jeffrey Ritchie whatsoever, allowing Christian Sendel through. Didn't want to throw a defensive shape and compromise both of them. They both know that they're in a race against the other strategies.
And Christian Sendel, while that is a move for the lead, I do wonder if it will become a move that was for the effective race lead, because they are on the alternate strategy, and it may very well prove to be a key move, as here comes Sandro looking for the inside.
Whoa! Cameron Cooper well too late on the brakes.
No, that's it!
This is Value.
Value.
Value's got into him there. That's Value, and he's surely lost a lot of front wing. Yes, he has.
And Jan Fehler.
Oh, and there's cars all over the road. Jan Fehler, he's trying to get past Cameron Cooper. Cameron Cooper is a wounded machine out there right now, and Jan Fehler is as well. Disaster strikes for Jan and for Value. And this is what Vexit needed. Vexit, he was escaped all that, I think. I think his front wing is still intact. And that was all caused by Cameron Cooper getting too hot in the braking zone and going straight into the back of Sandro.
And let's see how much longer this VSC stays out for, because Peso could pit for the hard tires if the VSC stays out for another 30 seconds or so, and that would save him 5 to 10 seconds in the pit stops, and it might even see him back into, or give him the effective race lead. But this is huge for Vexit. Value and Jan Fehler are going to be absolutely furious and livid with it. The VSC has ended, and it has ended about 15 seconds too early for Peso.
Yeah, VSC ends. We are back under racing conditions once again, and you can see Value dropping like a stone there through the field. Vexit's got past him, Ben's got past him. Value's going to have to come into the pit, you'd have to imagine, and just hope for a safety car before the end of this race. But right now, look how much time he is losing. Look how little grip he has. And into the pits he goes. Jan Fehler went into the pits. Luca's into the pits, and so is Peso. Those guys are just rolling the dice on strategy right now, but Jan Fehler and Value both have to pit out of necessity. Those front wing damages, and there's a 5-second penalty as well for Value here on top of it all, and there we see the front wing getting changed.
And those are medium tires that have gone on to the Red Bull. Dearie me, Value. What?
Jan Fehler's on soft tires. I don't know if that's intentional, and he's hoping for a safety car. It's a virtual safety car again. What's happened this time? I can't see any issue.
Mercedes, I think. I think that's Conor Eddy, who's made a mistake down into turn 10. He's lost a fair bit of time.
With wings
so I wonder if he caused it.
His wing is fine. He might well have caused it because he is now, yeah, he has lost a lot of time. Vexit. Vexit's died. Yeah, Vexit's fallen down.
No.
Look, Vexit is down into 15th. What's happened to him? He's
Oh,
lost his
no.
entire front wing. Has he hit Connor Eddy? No. I can't fathom what exactly's happened there, but Vexit has lost his whole front wing. In the moment where the race was gifted to him, he's gifted it straight back. But to who? Whose race is this now? Is this Connor Eddy's race to win?
I don't know. Christian Sendel, Jeffrey Ritchie, they're coming up to the pits. Are they going to dive on in and put on a set of medium tyres? I think they could look to, but no, they don't think the mediums is the right call now. I mean, if there was no VSC or anything, they'd probably pit at around lap 16.
I said it was Connor Eddy's. I cursed him. I'm so sorry, Connor. I said, is this his race to win? And he gets a drive-through penalty for overspeed behind the virtual safety car. What on earth is happening right now? This is an absolute nightmare of a race for so many drivers, but therein lie the opportunities for the minnows, for the guys who wouldn't usually be looking at a podium or even a race win to try and steal it away. This could be Jeffrey Ritchie's first win of the season. Christian Sendel could get back to winning ways, or we could see someone totally different. Lars Algera is now the leader of those guys who have pitted onto hard tires, and this could be his race now.
And again, for the Red Bulls, your heart has to go out for them. It always goes wrong. There's always something that throws a spanner into the works. And for two of the drivers who could be first and second in the race, they're down in P19 and P20. It is just heartbreaking. And Fehler found a way past Luca up to P16. This is a recuperation race for him, a recovery drive. And this is the kind of race that makes it champions. Jan Fehler, Valu Vexit, what can you do when the pressure is mounted against you? What can you do when the odds are stacked against you?
Got to make the best of a bad situation, but I'm not sure Jan Fehler has done that with the decision to go on the soft tyres. He's going to absolutely have to gun it on this and then hope for a late safety car, something, maybe a VSC to get him a half-price pit stop, but I can't see a world in which going on to soft tyres was the right call. Maybe he just wanted to try and snag fastest lap as well.
I think it was
down there.
I think he just forgot to switch his tyres on his MFD or went one click too far and then couldn't switch it back because it locked. But I don't think there was any world where Jan Fehler actually wanted those soft tyres. Maybe he wants to go for a faster lap. Who knows?
Ben is going slowly out there right now. You can see Cameron Cooper almost went into the back of him once again there. I think Ben's car is all okay. Cameron Cooper just had a lot more speed than he realized in towards turn one. And now Lars Algera is going to try and take advantage of the situation. Zay is right there as well. He could be looking at a podium in this race, depending on how it goes for the likes of Christian Sendel, Jeffrey Ritchie, and Jane Tripkov. Jane's fallen now 9 seconds behind those leading pair. As Labrax loses out to KX Ricardo, those two are battling further down. KX Ricardo is having a very, very solid race, currently sitting in 13th, but having made that pit stop and now trying to make it 12th with Labrax around the outside of turn 8, trying to fight back. And that rear end has been threatening to get away from the Renault driver all race long. He just about holds it there, but there was another big kick, and as a result, he's down into 13th. Zola looking interested as well. Peso down there in 15th on that set of hard tyres. He's the odd man out right now. He can start to close in on these guys, but the differential in tyre grip between him and them is not so great.
And for people wondering where everyone sits once pit stops come into play, how things will look in the 14 laps time, Jeffrey Ritchie's into the pit. So Christian Sendel and Jeffrey Ritchie are your effective 1 and 2. Then it's Lars Algera, who is a P3 because Connor Eddy has that 5-second time penalty as Lars goes down the inside of Cameron Cooper. And then in P4, it's probably actually Jane Tripkov.
Yeah, it might well be. Jane has a big gap between himself and the front two before the pit stop. Jane is now going to be coming out of the pits soon. Sandro's into the pits. Connor Eddy serving that drive-through. Jeffrey Ritchie's filtered out there in 8th position. Here is Cameron Cooper trying to fight with the cars around him. He's on much older hard tyres. And Zay looks to be taking advantage of that fact in the Ferrari. Trying to go around the outside of turn 4 here and will not even need to do so in the end. Bit of a lag moment there. But he does hold the position ahead of Cameron Cooper. Scars is in close attendance as well. And then there's Jeffrey Ritchie. On that set of medium tyres, he's only got 3 cars to pass before he's back in de facto race lead here. I think he can do it.
But the issue is he's stuck in dirty air right now, Jacob. He can't make his way through, and Christian Sendel is going to be gaining time as Jeffrey Ritchie desperately tries to carve his way through what is a 6-car train right now. He needs to get through as quickly as possible, and to be honest, if Christian Sendel has a race engineer, that race engineer needs to be telling him, don't pit, stay out for 1-2 more laps, because he does not want to feed out into this heap of cars.
It's an absolute morass right now, and there is Lars Algera taking advantage, getting past Ben, and Zay doing the exact same thing. Now, that's Jeffrey Ritchie up the inside of Cameron Cooper. He's been able to make that move stick as well. Cameron down into 7th. Jeffrey dispatches another, but now it's Ben up ahead of him that he needs to be the next one to try and get past. Bit of a lag moment there. Don't know if that affected anyone. Looks like everyone's just about okay, as Christian Sendel didn't pit. He has stayed out. Same with Riptide, same with Lars Algera. Ben finally decides he does not want to be part of that mess any longer. Airplane crash waiting to happen, and he dives into the pits for a set of medium tyres to the end of this race. Now, there's Jeffrey Ritchie. He's already up the inside of Lars Algera, and he's getting past his teammate. So he has dispatched this traffic. 6 cars over the course of 1 lap. Jeffrey Ritchie up in the 3rd, and now Christian Sendel's going to be sweating it. Zay also getting past Lars Algera behind. Lars trying to fight back, and he will be able to do so with the inside line on the exit of turn 4, but that turns into the outside for 5, the inside for 6, but he cannot hold it, or can he around the outside here? No! And that is Zay up in a 4th, but I'm sure that we'll see that position changing hands once again before this race is over. The chaos continues as Cameron Cooper's still fighting, even though he's got that penalty and older tyres, he's still fighting with all these guys right now. And they're so close into turn 10. And there it is! The contact again, that's Zola. Absolutely careening into the rear end of KX Ricardo, sending the Hong Kong driver round.
Oh no, the rear ending has been occurring thick and fast. KX Ricardo, thankfully he won't have any damage at all. The damage will be entirely on Zola's front wing, but Christian Sendel's into the pit. And I think this is perfect. No, he's sped into the pit lane.
Yeah.
Either way, I think he's going to come out ahead of Jeffrey Ritchie, and he'll have fresh and medium tyres. The question is, can he pull 5 seconds over the course of 11 laps? Either way, I think Christian Sendel has thrown the race away.
We might well see. I think Jeffrey Ritchie's going to come out ahead of him here. He had a mega lap after he got past all that traffic. He's dropped them by 3 seconds over the course of this 1 lap. And there he is into the lead. He's taking Christian Sendel. Christian couldn't come out alongside. Meanwhile, Lars Algera, he is battling with Zay, and he will be able to get back up into 4th for now, as Cameron Cooper's still trying to hold off Scars. That's going to be frustrating for the AlphaTauri driver. He'll be desperate to see the end of that Mercedes up ahead of him go into the pit lane at the end of this lap.
Riptide
is still out there.
side as well, just behind.
Yeah, KX Ricardo trying to battle there. It's with Labrax for now. Peso's looking to get involved in that particular scrap as well. Meanwhile, out at the front, it's still Riptide leading. He's yet to pit, though, of course. There is Scars close behind, very close to tapping the rear end of Cameron Cooper, maybe giving him a taste of his own medicine for earlier on in this race. But right now, you see Jeffrey Ritchie ahead of Christian Sendel, but the gap is less than a second. But the critical difference is that Christian has that 5-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Ritchie won't try to fight with Christian Sendel. Even if Christian goes past, Jeffrey Ritchie will just sit behind and he'll take the race win at the end when time penalties come into play. Maybe he could even look for a move on the final lap or so. Peso's closing on into Labrax and KX Ricardo. Out of everyone on the hard tyres, he's got the freshest of everyone's hard zone. We're also intrigued to see what will happen to Riptide when he does pit. Will he look to put on the softs? I think he will. Otherwise, there is no sense of having to stretch those hard tires for 18 laps. So expect Riptide to pit maybe on like lap 21 of the race for a set of softs.
Yeah, he's going to be coming out further down. That's Vexit retiring. He's retired on the exit of turn 11. And I wonder if he's just decided to call it a day. Virtual safety car comes out because he's retired on track. It doesn't look like a place where you would crash. So I think he might have just thrown in the towel there. We'll have to see about that one. Virtual safety car. Great news for Jan Fehler, who's on that set of soft tires. He's going to come into the pits. Connor Eddy also reacting into the pit lane. Luca doing the exact same. Ben opts to stay out. So does Valu. Interesting. They've gone different ways on that strategy then at the very back here. DRS has been enabled and they're not yet out of the pit lane. So it's not a full half-price pit stop. But that's still okay for those guys as they've got fresh softs to the end now. Shame for Cameron Cooper that he couldn't come into the pit. Same for Riptide as well, as Cameron finally gets passed by Scars. Will be very, very happy to have dispatched the Mercedes once and for all here.
Just looking at Valu, trying to think what is the best result he can aim for. P13, he's pretty much got in the bag, but can he get any higher than that? Cameron Cooper pardon me, Cameron Cooper still has to pit. So Valou can aim for P12. I think P11 will be too much, and Jan Fehler probably can only aim for P13, P14. Either way, when things end, I think it's going to be Christian Sendel who leads the championship. Oh, no, sorry, it's going to be Ace Ritchie, because Ace Ritchie and Christian Sendel are currently tied on points. Out of nowhere, can you believe it, Jacob? Ace Ritchie will be leading the championship as Riptide finally dives into the pits.
Let's not count our chickens before they're hatched. Right now, Christian Sendel's actually sending the move on Jeffrey Ritchie in towards turn 1, and he's actually got it done. Once again, Jeffrey Ritchie cannot fight back. He's not alongside in the braking zone, and that is Christian Sendel back up into the lead of this race. If he can gap Jeffrey Ritchie, he has the slightest chance to build that 5 seconds. But that is a huge if, and it's a very slight chance even if he does. So Jeffrey Ritchie's still in the driver's seat for now. He just needs to keep his nose clean and avoid penalties, and he should be on for the race win here. Lars Algera looking solid in third. That battle with Zay is set to continue, and Scars will be very interested. Peso is close behind Labrax and KX Ricardo, who haven't had a whole lot of pace in this race for the last few laps or so. Yone Tripkov getting closer to them as well, and he's on medium tyres, so he might be a force to be reckoned with. Maybe looking at least 6th position come the end of this race. Ben picks up a 3-second time penalty down in 14th, as he is currently in a battle with Zola. Jan Fehler a second behind them.
Jacob, I just realised something. Zay might almost be on for a podium. Zay, of all people, for a podium. That is not something I was expecting to say today.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, Zay, it's been up and down thus far this season, but this is by far the best opportunity that Zay has had thus far this season. But it's going to rely on getting past Lars Algera. Zay has been able to do it once, though. Lars has not necessarily had the measure of the Ferrari driver in the last few laps, so either one of them, or even Scars, could take that third and final slot on the podium. It would be all of their first podiums of the season. Jan Fehler has been able to get past Zola, watching his progress. Christian Sendel's left the session.
Disconnect.
That's a disconnection for sure. He's going to have to get back pretty quickly here. Jeffrey Ritchie should be able to get past him with relative ease now. His game's crashed. Christian Sendel has had a game crash.
Oh, no.
That is unbelievable. One by one, the main championship contenders all fall away to some misfortune or another. He's got back into the session very quickly. That's important. He's not lost so much time. As long as he can get back in control of that McLaren, he's still looking at P2 in this race, which is the same as the one he was in before. So that's not so bad for him, and not as bad as it could have been. Meanwhile, there's Peso trying to get around the outside of KX Ricardo. Yone Tripkov's very close behind as well. He'll be watching this with glee, as he's going to look to try and snap up the scraps of whatever this battle ends up being. As there's a safety car once again.
Zola over turn 2.
He's lost it, as you mentioned, on the exit of turn 2. You can see some front wing damage, I think. No front wing left at all on that Haas.
Jacob, Riptide is in the best position here. Riptide's on soft tyres, and everyone else ahead of them, I think maybe barring Jeffrey Ritchie, will probably come into the pits for a set of soft tyres. Riptide might be finding himself leading the race.
Maybe. I mean, it depends how many of them are going to pit. If they all stay out in solidarity, then Riptide will have a big job on his hands to try and catch up through them.
Yeah, Jeffrey's in the pits. Everyone's going to pit. They want the fresh tyres to the end. It's too much of a risk if they stay out. Christian Sendel's not controlling his car, so his AI will keep him out on circuit. Everyone coming in.
I think he might be in control of his car. I'm not 100% certain. Yone Tripkov staying out as well on his medium tyres, so he's rolling the dice in that direction. Let's see, Jeffrey Ritchie. Lars Algera is going to have to double stack in this pit lane, so that's not going to help him. He's going to lose out to Zay, you'd have to imagine. Riptide, there you go. He's ahead right now, but Jeffrey Ritchie very close behind and definitely the faster of the two. So Riptide will do a great job to hold off Jeffrey Ritchie with one hand while trying to battle with Yone Tripkov and Christian Sendel with the other. I'm fascinated to know whether Christian's in control of his car or not, because that could be a big decision that he might have made himself. He would, if he pitted, he would have had to wait an extra 5 seconds. Let's not forget. So he might not wanted to have paid that particular price, and as a result, that might be why he stayed out.
If you only had a 5-lap sprint to the end and you had loads of drivers on fresh softs, that's exactly when you have to make that race. You have to buy the time under the safety car. The other big thing I wanted to mention is Lars Algera. He had to double stack behind Jeffrey Ritchie. He's lost positions to Zay, Scars, Cameron Cooper. So right now, this is going to be Riptide. I mean, if you take everyone as being perfectly even, Riptide's going to win the race from Jeffrey, Ritchie, and Zay, but from pace, you would have to assume Jeffrey Ritchie will be the one to take the cherry at the end. The question is, can the likes of Christian Sendel, can he get back into the game, and can him and Yanni Tripkov, our Season 1 champion, hold off what is pretty much the entire field on fresh soft tires, with the exception of Sandro, who I think must have selected the wrong tires in the pits.
I tell you something though, Riptide, from what I've seen of him thus far this season, thinking back to last week in Mexico, he's not an easy man to pass. He battles very hard for his positions. Jeffrey Ritchie will not have it all his own way. Riptide's teammate Zay is there as well, so maybe they can look to get some team action going on. Riptide will have DRS on Yanni Tripkov and Christian Sendel. And if he plays that right, if he leaves those two ahead of him until the penultimate lap or something like that, he might be able to build a DRS train and keep Jeffrey Ritchie behind. So it's not that simple for Jeffrey Ritchie right now. Riptide, if he plays this right, could still be in the better position. Trouble is his tyres. They're going to be getting pretty second-hand towards the end. They might be falling a bit away in terms of pace in the last lap or so, whereas Jeffrey's is still going to be pretty much as fresh as the day they were born, almost all the way to the end of this race. Sandro is back into the pits again to get rid of those mediums for a set of softs, so that must have been a mistake, as you mentioned. Meanwhile, Valu sitting down there in 14th, Connor Eddy, who seemed like he might win this race at one point, in 13th, Jan Fehler in 12th, but Jan and Connor, they're on used soft tyres relative to the fresh softs of everyone else. There's a prediction starting in chat right now. I'm sure everyone's going to want to get on that one. Will Jeffrey Ritchie win this race? That is the decision you guys have to make.
Jeffrey Ritchie, honestly, if you had told him at the start of today that he would find himself sitting P4 with Riptide ahead of him on the same tyres and Yanni Tripkov and Christian Sendel on older medium tyres with 6 laps remaining, he would have bitten your hand off at the prospect. For Vexit, imagine if Vexit had stayed in the race. He would have had the safety car to come back in. Valu in P14 fresh soft tyres. Jan Fehler P12 on older soft tyres. This is a huge opportunity for them to regain points. Remember what I said. This is where champions come into play. This is where champions can make or break a season. These are kind of races where everything goes against them, but yet they'll still be able to pick up points. And for Jan Fehler and Valu, that's exactly what they need to do.
Absolutely. And it looks like more people saying no than yes on the question of whether Jeffrey Ritchie will win this race. That is fascinating. I reckon he's got this one.
I think so as well.
Very close. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Luca gets a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags behind the safety car. That is probably going to be able to be rescinded after this race because that's probably just a game issue there. Safety car is coming in this lap. What are you looking for on this restart?
Well, you have to look at Riptide. He's on the soft tyres. He wants to get past Yanni Tripkov and Christian Sendel as quickly as possible. Put as many cars between himself and Jeffrey Ritchie. This is going to be a 6-lap sprint to the end.
And we'll see who's going to get the jump out of this final corner. It is Christian Sendel leading the way behind this safety car. Now, look at it. He's holding up. Yanni Tripkov is already getting past him. He can't do that. He's going to let him go. There we go. And Christian Sendel into the lead. He's held them for so long. And look at the chaos it's already causing. There's Jeffrey Ritchie already having a go at Riptide. Scars has got the best run of all of them in the AlphaTauri. He might send a dive bomb at the inside. He's not going to do it. And it's a late move from Riptide up the inside of Yanni Tripkov, who just about sees him in time and gives him the space. Jeffrey Ritchie couldn't take the position away. He's currently sitting down in 4th with Scars in 5th ahead of Zay. He's been able to get past him. There's so much action. There's cars all over. It's the race start all over again right now. And there's Riptide trying to get past Yanni Tripkov. He's already managed to get past him. Christian Sendel, meanwhile, he's trying to gap as much as he can at the very front. Yanni Tripkov on those medium tyres is struggling so hard for grip right now, and he cannot keep Jeffrey Ritchie at bay as the Alfa Romeo sends it up the inside of turn 8. Meanwhile, Zay tried to get past us. There's 3 wide moment there between Lars Algera, Peso, and Cameron Cooper. Their battle is hotting up there over 7th, 8th, and 9th for the time being. And there is Peso trying to get around the outside of Lars Algera. Lars looked like he was on for a podium a few laps ago. Now he's sitting down in 8th and with a penalty to his name as well. Labrax has moved up a position into 10th, but at the front it's Christian Sendel leading from Jeffrey Ritchie in 3rd with Riptide between the two of them in 2nd. Riptide needs to get back within DRS range of Christian Sendel, but at the moment he's still got a pretty clear gap to Jeffrey Ritchie, so he might not be in trouble even if he doesn't get that DRS before this lap.
And that is actually Christian Sendel behind the wheel. Great restart from Christian Sendel. He waited until the last possible second to make it as much of a cluster as possible, to make everyone fight for position so that he could try to pull out as far ahead as he can. And he's going to absolutely get it as Scarza flies up past Yanni Tripkov.
Scars on track for a very good finish in his first ever Premier X race here. 3 wide behind them, that's Peso, Lars Algera and Zay. Zay has had a poor restart and he is falling down. He's down into 8th right now. Both Peso and Lars Algera getting past Peso, putting on a bit of a late race charge here. He'll be fancying to get past Yanni Tripkov as well. Meanwhile, that's Zay trying to get back past Lars Algera. Lars holds on to it for now, but he does have that penalty. Let's not forget about that.
Jan Fehler's been involved in an incident under the safety car. Now he's all the way down the back, and it is a Valu who's up to P13 who can look for that top 10 finish. This is a huge disaster of a race for your championship leader.
It's a disaster for so many fantasy teams as well. Jan Fehler down in 18th right now. There's Luca getting past Ben over 11th and 12th. That's into turn 10. Riptide is still struggling to get within DRS range to Christian Sendel, but I think that's exactly where he wants to be. He wants to be in DRS range, but only just, because he wants to let Christian Sendel stay ahead of him for the rest of this race, because Christian Sendel has that penalty. So Riptide will still win the race as long as he stays behind the McLaren. And if he stays behind the McLaren, it's going to make it that much harder for Jeffrey Ritchie to get past. Look at the gap between Riptide and Christian Sendel. It's on a knife edge whether he got DRS there. I'm pretty sure he did. And that could be the critical difference in the battle between himself and Jeffrey Ritchie, because Jeffrey was getting very close to the rear wing of that Ferrari. No, DRS has only just been enabled, of course. So I forgot about that. The DRS still taking a while to be enabled further back. That is Yanni Tripkov trying to hold off Peso, but that is going to be a losing battle that he's fighting, because Peso's on those fresher, softer tyres. Lars Algera having to take evasive action there as Yanni Tripkov chopped across him in the braking zone just to retake his racing line there, but no harm done as it stands. Christian Sendel still leading from Riptide and Jeffrey Ritchie. And imagine if Christian Sendel didn't have that penalty, what a grandstand finish this would be, even more so than it already is.
Yeah, it would be fantastic for Christian Sendel, but he does have that penalty, unless there is some way he can get it removed, which I can't see how he would get it removed. Speeding into the pit lane, that is his own fault. That is not something that you can blame the game for, unless you can show that you were below the speed limit and that there was some kind of weird gamer glitch, but I do not think there was. Here comes Jeffrey Ritchie.
Jeffrey Ritchie trying to make the move of what could be the race win here, and he sends it up the inside of Riptide, who did not have the track position to fight back against him. Now he needs to get back in DRS range of Christian Sendel. He already is. Jeffrey Ritchie looks to have taken the win at the death here. 4 laps left to go, 3 once they come across the line. And Riptide might just have lost it to Jeffrey Ritchie. He'll still be within DRS range though. Scars is just about clinging on in 4th. Peso getting closer to them in 5th. Yanni Tripkov still trying to fight off Lars Algera and Zay behind, as well as Luca, who's managed to find his way up into 9th, with Cameron Cooper sitting in 10th. Valu will want to get past those guys, even if they have penalties, so he can try and get some more positions in 11th for now. Riptide thinks about it, but he's not close enough. Jeffrey Ritchie, has he done enough now?
Lars has just found a way through on Yanni Tripkov. Valu finding a way through onto Cameron Cooper. And there's the Yanni side by side through to that.
Valu's off again! Oh my goodness me, it is not a race to be a championship contender, I tell you what. Christian Sendel with that 5-second speeding in the pit lane penalty, that's going to make all the difference for him, but he's still in a much better position relative to Vexit, who's out, to Jan Fehler, who's 18th, to Valu, who's 16th right now. Lars Algera picks up a 3-second time penalty as Jan Fehler picks up the fastest lap of the race. And it just keeps going. Whenever you think this race is done, whenever you think it's settled, something else comes flying at you out of nowhere. And sometimes it's heading backwards out of turn 2, like we saw from Valu there.
I'm just trying to calculate right now as well, Jacob. Where does Christian Sendel drop after 5 seconds get applied? I think he's going to be around Yanni Tripkov and Peso. Christian Sendel and Yanni, they're both on the same tyres. Christian's tyres are a bit fresher, and he's the quicker driver, so he should be able to get this a P5 spot. But Jeffrey Ritchie, Riptide, Scars are your 3 who are looking to lock out the podium. Peso's 1.6 seconds behind Scars. I don't think he's going to be able to join into the DRS train and fight for that final podium spot.
Sandro's on the move in the Williams as well, by the way. He's getting close behind Labrax, and then the 2 cars ahead both had penalties. Sandro had to pit an extra time behind the safety car because he accidentally put on medium. Somehow he's found himself up into 11th, and he might even be claiming 8th before the end of this race, which would comfortably be his best result of the season. So it's looking good for the Belgian right now. It's not been an incidentless race for him. Jeffrey Ritchie close behind Christian Sendel. I wonder if he's going to try and pass the German or whether he'll just stick behind. It's a tough decision to make. What would you do right now?
Yanni just dropped down the order as well. He's lost a couple of positions. And how far down is Yanni going to go on these old medium tyres is what I'm wondering. Zola's found a way through on Cameron Cooper, but Jeffrey Ritchie, he's going to want to get this move done on circuit. He'll want to take the checkered all on his own accord. Jeffrey Ritchie being on the podium in every single race so far, the only driver to have done so. 2/3, a second, and now he's looking to go one better here at Bahrain.
It's unbelievable. We knew he was good. We didn't know he was this good. And it's been a chaotic race. It's not been a race decided on who was the fastest on the day, but it's been a race decided on who was able to keep themselves clean on the day and avoid the mistakes. And Jeffrey Ritchie has been that man thus far as we're about to enter the very final lap of this race. And it has been coming, as you mentioned, podium every race. He's been mega consistent and mega quick all throughout this season. And it'll be a very well-deserved win as long as he can tie it off with a bow. Riptide looking for his first podium of the season, but Scars might be looking to try and take it away from him.
P2.
Maybe. Meanwhile, Jeffrey Ritchie's managing to make the move, but this is for P2 right now. Riptide defending the inside. He'll have to look for the outside of 2, but that's so difficult. He goes for the switchback instead as Scars takes track position for the time being. Up the hill we go. Riptide. Scars going so defensive. He does not want to give the Ferrari a sniff. And indeed, he's able to cauterize the wound in towards turn 3 there. And hold off Riptide for now, who's down into 4th. Scars moving up into what will be 2nd come the end of this in his first ever race in Premier X. Coming in as a reserve driver for AlphaTauri, it is going oh so well for him right now. Maverick with a time penalty. Cameron Cooper with yet another time penalty as they are battling down in 14th and 15th right now. But Jeffrey Ritchie is in the lead and he's looking to gap Christian Sendel and take it on track. And right now it doesn't look like anyone's going to be able to challenge him.
He's got the soft tires, he's got the better rubber, and there's only 4 corners between himself and his first race win in Formula X racing.
Jeffrey Ritchie still ahead. There's Yanni Tripkov still trying to battle with Lars Algera. Zay's been able to get past these guys. Lars has spun it on the last lap. He's losing it. And it's all gone wrong. There's front wing damage as well. And it's hardly going to matter at this point, but what will matter is all the positions he's losing. He was on for a podium a few laps ago, and now he's down in 15th with a penalty. Meanwhile, his teammate Jeffrey Ritchie is going to take his first win of the season. Scars comes across the line in 2nd in his debut race, and Riptide takes his first podium as well. We said he was the 20th best driver in the league. Well, he was the 3rd best today. Peso with a great recovery on a day when he didn't have the pace to manage a 4th place finish. Zay in 5th, making it a great result for Ferrari. Yanni Tripkov from the back of the grid to 6th. Christian Sendel with that time penalty dropped down to 7th, held off Sandro by 0.003 of a second with what is Sandro's best result of the season by a mile. Labrax in 9th, and Luca in his reserve drive 2nd of the season manages a top 10 finish.
What on earth was this race, Jacob? I mean, from a neutral, I guess it was exciting, but your heart has to go out for so many drivers. Jan Fehler, Valu, Vexit. I don't know what happened to Lars at the end, but, well, congratulations to quite a few drivers. Congratulations to that man as Jeffrey Ritchie picks up his first win of the season. Well, he showed some great pace, and I would love to ask Christian Sendel, does he think he should have served that 5-second time penalty? Because if he did, yes, he would have dropped 1 further position down, maybe 2 positions at most. But he would have been on the exact same strategy. He wouldn't have had any penalties, and he could have had a straight-on dogfight with Ace all the way to the end. I think it was a slight oversight from Christian Sendel.
We'll have to see. We don't even know whether he was in control of his car at that moment of time, of course, because he had that unfortunate disconnect. And, oh, I don't know. It's so tight. There's so many what-ifs in this race. Jan Fehler took the fastest lap, but finished. He came across the line in 18th. He took the points. He kept going to the end, and full credit to him for that. Because some drivers wouldn't always do that, but you get points no matter where you finish here in Formula X racing. And that could be all the difference come the end of this season. But Jeffrey Ritchie takes the lead of the championship in the most surprising style I can possibly imagine. I think Christian Sendel will even be into 2nd here ahead of Jan Fehler, unless I'm very much mistaken. I'm pretty sure he's got more than 20 points more than him in this race. But then Vexit and Valu, this should have been a race for them to steal a march on the McLarens. And it's still not happened. Valu's got closer to Jan Fehler, but Vexit's dropping down. He might even fall behind the likes of Peso, who's had a good result as well.
And I've just looked in the Discord chat, and Ollie P is calling you out, Jacob. Apparently, you said to him, maybe with AlphaTauri not having any of their full-time drivers, they can actually get a podium. And well, it happened. So I have no idea how you predicted that one, Jacob, but good job on it.
What can I say? What can I say? I had a feeling. I knew this Scars guy was all right. What a result from him, though. Great race.
I think on that note, we need a little bit of a lie down. So we're going to be jumping on in for a quick break. And when we return, we'll be having our top 3 drivers for a good old chat and just to ask them how chaotic that race was from their perspective. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show. I've got a little smile on my face, but there are many drivers from this race who will not be having a smile on their face. That being said, one man will be having a huge grin on his face, and that is Jeffrey Ritchie. And, well, Jeffrey, I remember last week when we interviewed you, we said you had 2 thirds in a row, then you had a second last time out. Would we get to see you go one better? And you've only gone and done it.
Yeah, yes, I did. It was I took a gamble in Q2. I was like 1.5 seconds up on my final lap on the sauce, and I saw P11 on the leaderboards, and I decided to not finish my lap and go with a reverse strategy. And yeah, that was definitely the right call because that definitely paid off.
Well, I mean, with hindsight as well, it paid off fantastically. Yourself and Christian Sendel, you were on the same strategy. You managed to get past Peso fairly quickly. What were the hard tires feeling like?
The hards were not that bad actually. I managed to catch up to some soft runners at the end of their stint, and then I think me and Sendel were just alone for a little bit, and we had a couple of VSCs, and I saw Riptide take a pit then, I believe. So he did get out ahead of me after the safety car, but I managed to get back past again, and I actually noticed Sendel didn't pit, which was interesting because it also helped me because he like gave me DRS to defend from Riptide. So I guess it all just worked out in the end.
And there's a whole bunch more questions that I could ask, but we're already running a bit over time due to the 2 lobby restarts that we had. So Jacob, I'll throw straight to you if you've got any questions for our race winner.
Oh no, I think there's so many things happened in this race. Yeah, I mean, I guess were you certain about the decision to go on to the softs? Was there ever a moment of your doubt for you to stay on the mediums, or was it always just going to be softs at the end?
I saw there were like 7 laps left in safety car, and it was gonna at least go 2 laps. So staying on them old mediums and having all the hard runners behind me, I knew that at least half the grid was gonna pit as well. So I wasn't gonna lose too many positions. So it was a no-brainer to go softs and try to fight my way back with the like massive grip advantage.
All right, well, yeah, and congratulations again on your first win of the season. Here's to many more, and still yet to be off the podium as well. 4 races in, congrats.
Yes, thank you.
Move on to our second place driver then, Scars. Your first race in FXR, and you secured a podium as well. How chaotic was the race from your POV?
Honestly, until about the safety car came out, I didn't even know what position I was in, because like until I put in, I only then realized Vexit, Fehler, and Valor were out. I don't even know where they were. I thought I was like 8th or something, and then I realized, oh, I can actually get a podium. So it was an incredible race. Yeah.
And talk us through that final lap, because you were right on the back of Riptide. You were trying to break each other's slipstream, and it went right down to the wire.
Yeah. I broke so late into turn 1. I just absolutely sent it. I think we touched a little bit, but it was fine in the end. But yeah, I just absolutely sent it. I just gave it everything there. So yeah, it was really nice fight there with them.
Jacob, I'll throw to you if you've got any questions for Scars.
Yeah, just quickly, if we go back to qualifying there, Scars. You were 3rd on the grid, I think. Was it a 24.6 in the end? Is that sort of the peak, the best lap time you could manage? Did you nail that lap in qualifying, or do you reckon there's even more there?
I think there was more in the lap, but I think that's my best online lap. But I just really couldn't nail the lap together. But it was a good lap nonetheless. Got me P3, so that's pretty good.
Absolutely, yeah, and it was only a couple of tenths off of the very fastest guys, so that's always something to be very happy with. And congratulations on your debut podium. Well done.
Thanks, man.
We'll move on to Riptide P3. Riptide, honestly, I don't know where to start with you. P3, congrats, my guy.
Thank you, man. Oh my, what a race, man. I was told all the time by Say, we were talking, that I just had to go long on my hards and go into softs, because I wanted to go on mediums. So I have to give him a shout out, because he got me that P3.
Well, the Ferrari strats are coming into play. Unlike Ferrari IRL, and our producer was saying before we came for interviews, how does it feel, Riptide, to have got Ferrari's best result of the entire year, both in real life racing and on sim racing?
I think it's richly deserved, really. From 17th to go through to 3rd. I was raging all the time about the virtual safety cars, that there wasn't a real safety car, and then it came out, and like an angel came from the heaven.
Yeah, only 2 safety cars, hardly enough there. Yeah.
Jacob, I'll throw it to you if you've got any questions for Riptide.
Yeah. So Riptide, why did you sandbag your placement time trials so much?
Because I always run with a modded game, so my newest time trial times doesn't count. So they're only like half a year old. So they're not very good.
Well, you see, you can't blame us. You can't blame us for having you in 20th in the power rankings when it's all based on fraudulent lap times. But yeah, no, massive result again. I mean, and sorry for putting you in 20th, and congratulations on your first podium of the season.
Thank you so much.
That was Riptide. Third place in Bahrain, second in the Blindfold Challenge leaderboards. And Jacob, that is, I think that is everything. What an absolute chaotic evening of racing.
Yeah, utter madness from start to finish, pretty much, that race. That was, and every time, I said it at the time, every time it seemed like, surely that's all the action we're going to get. Surely that's everything. Yep. There was another thing that happened. In Lars Algera, on the very last lap, he kept the action going by spinning out there. Not the way he would have wanted it, I'm sure. But there were so many drivers that could have won. There were so many drivers that could have got podiums. But it was all just... It was so fun. It was so fun to watch. Maybe not so fun to participate in for some of the drivers, but it was a lot of fun to watch. And I hope you guys all enjoyed watching it as well.
Yeah, and from what I saw in the post-race chat, the last saying that apparently he got taken out. Either way, commiserations to all of the stewards, including myself, because there's going to be a whole lot of incidents that are coming through for them to feed through. I think I might just have to take a vacation tomorrow, just stay away from it all. But Jacob, thanks again for staying alongside me. Reed, I hope you had an enjoyable time watching that from the production room. And to all of our viewers, make sure to stay tuned, because if you thought Bahrain was interesting, we've got Bahrain again next week for round 5 of the championship. Even more action, and it should be an absolute banger. Make sure to drop a follow over on Twitch so you catch when we go live, or just follow on Twitter at Formula X Racing. From myself and from Jacob, thank you very much for tuning in. Stay fast. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left.